You're all set.
Okay. Hi. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Town Council meeting of February 23rd. I now call this meeting to order, and I will ask if you're able, and there's a flag, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Hi. Good
Pledge of
evening,
Allegiance
To
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. I am, let me do attendance. I think the entire town council is here today. I see Councillor Chines, Councillor Constance, Councillor Chrisley, Councillor Carney, Councillor Fox, and Councillor Butler. Thank you, Brian. I couldn't see your face. So we've got everyone here today. Just a reminder for everyone that will be talking today, or my colleagues, turn the phone ringers off so they don't disrupt us. If you could, when you're speaking, and this goes to everyone, please put your camera on. That just helps so we can recognize people. Have a little patience for when people, I can't always keep track of everyone, so just have a little patience if I don't see you raising your hand, and just asking everyone to be a little bit, have a little bit more patience and grace today as we try to do our second meeting this month via Zoom. So with that, is there any public participation, Sherry?
We don't have any public participation tonight.
Great. And then because we are in the middle of a blizzard, and we had a snow day today, and I just saw that the schools are off tomorrow as well. I thought we'd ask Town Administrator Casey for just a little update on how the team is doing cleaning up the snow.
So as usual, Madam Councillor, our team is amazing. DPW, they have been nonstop, obviously, trying to get these roads clear. They are going to be doing the town buildings this evening, so we can open all municipal buildings tomorrow, saving their efforts to really focus in on the schools so we can get the schools open likely Wednesday. But yes, they have been doing an amazing job. Joe and his team, they knock it out of the park, managing both our employees and our contractors. So our deepest appreciation to them being out there all night, all day, back in all night, getting the roads clear for the Wakefield residents and the people and the businesses and people traveling through our town. Madam
Mary,
Chair,
you're on mute.
It happens 6 years later. And just to clarify, all town buildings will be open tomorrow, including the library, the senior center. All will have regular hours tomorrow.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Dee from anyone else? Please pass on our thanks to all the public safety and DPW who are doing an amazing job. So thank you. Okay, moving on to item 4A, discussion on 410 Salem Street.
610 Salem.
610. Wow. Apologies.
Yep, that's Marissa. Marissa Meany.
Hi, everyone. My video, is my video on?
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. I can't see me, but that's okay. Oh, no, I can. All right. Sorry. Good evening, everyone. So we are working with Attorney McGrail and Maloney Properties to file an application for the affordable units at 610 Salem Street. This is a pretty standard application that we submit to the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities whenever there is a development that comes to town and proposes affordable units in consistency with our inclusionary zoning bylaws. So the application calls for the signature of a municipal CEO. And when I was looking through previous applications that had been filed, this is the first one that's being filed since I have started as the planner in town. In looking through some previous applications, I have seen the signature of the former chair of town council. I've also seen the signature of our former town administrator, Steve Mayo. So it's whoever the town council decides to appoint as signatory as the representative, the municipal CEO for the town of Wakefield. So it can either be the chair, it can either be Dee as our town administrator, but it's probably best that we just leave it up to you guys to decide as a council who you would want to have act as the signatory for the document. And this can be for this application and all applications going forward as well, just so we can create a pretty streamlined process whenever we do see these come through our office. That's pretty much it. I'll leave it. If you guys have any other questions, let me know.
Are there any questions for Marissa? Councillor Chines.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Marissa. Actually, you know, you kind of alluded to, I think, some of the inconsistency in the past in terms of how these were signed. And so is the intention that we're designating a signatory for this one application or more broadly for any future applications as well?
I would recommend doing both for this one
Okay.
and for all future applications going forward.
Great. Thank you.
Of course.
Any other questions? Okay,
Oh, sorry, Maureen.
I don't see you. Hey, Councillor Butler.
Oh, sorry. No problem. Just a quick question. When you did the, like, you know, when we see that unit composition on the page where it talks about the 2 units will be at 2646, which, you know, is, what's that, roughly like a 5% discount from market. I didn't understand in the second column there's like a proposed condo fee utility allowance. Like, do the market rate units get that same notion, or is that something separate? Just because I'm trying to make sure that the affordable units aren't more expensive than the market rate.
Of course, yeah. So the condo fee, I believe, is separate from that's a fee that's just going to stay the same across the board for both market rate and affordable units. That does not change whether the unit is affordable or market rate. The utility allowance is something that is exclusive to the affordable units, and those are based off of numbers that are set by the Wakefield Housing Authority. They produce numbers every year, and those allowances get factored into that gross rent that the leasing office is allowed to charge for those affordable units. And then whatever that utility allowance is, that number is subtracted from the gross rent, and then you're left with the total net rent, which is what the tenant in that affordable unit ends up paying.
I mean, I do think that it does feel, you know, mildly egregious to advertise something as affordable rents when it's $2,600 for 800 square foot, 1 bedroom, or 26.
Yeah, these are numbers that are based off of what is it, from DHUD, federal numbers from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, based on our region's metro area. We are part of the Boston, Quincy, Cambridge metro area. And these are the numbers that these numbers aren't arbitrary. They're not making them up based on their own development. These are set numbers that are being released by DHUD on a yearly basis, and they're based off of the area median income.
Yeah, and does every sort of new development sort of charge that same rate in general? I mean,
Yeah.
I guess I'm pushing on this. Like, again, I'm not, Joe Affordable Housing here, but I'm also saying, like, to advertise it as such, and then this, it just feels slightly egregious, but that's okay.
Well, that's unfortunately the problem with housing that is even marketed as affordable nowadays. It really isn't, but those are the numbers that they work with, because that's what's being released by DHUD. So, but is it is, the number is 80% of the area median income of the Boston, Cambridge, Quincy metro area, and then of that 80% of the AMI, you take 30% of that, because that is sort of the metric of what goes into, or the amount that you should be paying toward your housing is 30% of your income, right? And so you take 30% of that income number, divide that up into 12, and that's how you get your 12 monthly rents. And those numbers change based on unit size and composition.
Councilor Butler, I equate the term affordable housing to the term free cash. Neither really describe exactly what they are, but that's the term that we use.
Yeah.
And so that 80% that's what the people can make, is 80% of the average income. Is that the deal?
That's the maximum they can make, yep, to qualify for one of these affordable units.
Okay.
Thank you for explaining that.
Sure.
Yeah, it is not really affordable, but we don't put in the numbers. Your office does not put in the numbers. The developers don't put in those numbers. Those come from yearly from a federal agency, is what I'm hearing you say.
Correct.
Okay, any other questions? So can I have a motion then about dealing with this one and going forward?
Sure. I move to designate the chair of the town council as the chief executive officer for the town of Wakefield for the purposes of assigning the local initiative program application for 610 Salem Street and any future applications.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Counselor Chrisley,
Yes.
Counselor Carney,
Yes.
Counselor Constance,
Yes.
Counselor Fox,
Hear me?
we
Now we
can't, we just could hear you. We can't see you either.
We're not having a cable issue this week.
Oh,
They didn't come
sorry.
out today. I'm hoping if I keep the video off that the meeting will stay going.
We can hear you good now. So
Okay, good.
how did you vote on that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And Counselor Butler,
Yes.
Counselor Chines,
Yes.
and myself is yes. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I also another announcement I need to make in internet and electricity. If anyone goes out, we understand like it's gonna happen. Hopefully not with our amazing gas and light in Wakefield, but it might happen and totally understandable. Okay, moving on to item B, 200 to 400 Quantapowhat Parkway, acceptance and execution of documents.
Yes, we have Brian McGrail.
Perfect.
I'm sorry, did you just call on me, Madam Chair?
Yes, we did. Sherry did. Yep.
Rejoining the meeting, so I was in Never Land when you called on me, so sorry about that. Well, thank you. For the record, Attorney Brian McGrail, I'm here on behalf of the property owners at 200, 400 Quantapowhat Parkway to comply with conditions that were imposed on the project at 200, 400 Quantapowhat Parkway. As you know, which is well under development, 440 units, a 3,500 square foot restaurant. And of those 440 units, you're talking about affordable. 79 of those 440 are going to be affordable housing units, quote unquote affordable. But in any event, as you know from my correspondence, there were conditions imposed on this project by the Zoning Board of Appeals, some of which require town council participation and acceptance. So I sent a letter in an effort to bring forward these issues to the council to be in compliance with the special permit conditions that were put on the project by the Board of Appeals. I believe on the meeting tonight also is Tom Lucy, who is the chair of the Board of Appeals. And if I may, Madam Chair, I'd like to defer to him because he asked to make a statement and or presentation to the board as far as what these conditions are all about and how the zoning board, other aspects of the project that the zoning board put on the developer for this project. So I think he is on anyways.
Yes, Tom is on.
Yep, I'm here.
Hi, Mr. Lucy. Do you want to
Sure.
talk about this a little bit? Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Again, my name's Tom Lucy. I'm currently serving as Chair of the Board of Appeals. I thought I would try to put a short context on what's before you tonight. In July of 2022, the Board of Appeals issued a special permit for a 440 unit development with a 3,500 square foot restaurant at 200 to 400 Quannapowitt Parkway. Of the 440 units, 79 are affordable in perpetuity and will be included in Wakefield's subsidized housing inventory. As part of the approval, through the special permits that we granted, the Board of Appeals required significant financial contributions and infrastructure commitments to the town, all of which have been paid or are substantially completed. These include a $600,000 contribution toward future intersection and roadway mitigation to address cumulative growth impacts in the areas as requested by the Traffic Advisory Committee. A $1.3 million contribution towards water quality improvements to Lake Quannapowitt, including the Main Street project or other water quality initiatives identified by the town's Clean Lake Committee. A $225,880 contribution to the town's I&I fund as requested by the Department of Public Works. And significant improvements to Quannapowitt Parkway to enhance traffic flow, pedestrian safety, and roadway conditions as requested by the DPW. In addition, during the public hearing process, several shared priorities emerged. What I will refer to as the project's key public benefits identified by the Board of Appeals, residents that attended the hearings, the Friends of Lake Quannapowitt, and public safety officials. These include protecting and improving Lake Quannapowitt's water quality, preserving significant open space at that end of the lake, expanding public access and amenities at that end of the lake, establishing a coordinated long-term maintenance plan for both the property and the adjacent town land, and enhancing public safety at that end of the lake through the creation of a public safety office. The special permit conditions required by the Board of Appeals delivered these key public benefits in the following ways. The special permit requires substantial stormwater management improvements on the property that did not previously exist, including rain gardens. These systems are designed to treat and remove contaminant from stormwater runoff before it reaches the lake. Approximately 12.7 of the 24 acres will be permanently protected for conservation and open space through a restrictive covenant in favor of the town. A new public access pathway will be provided on the property secured by an easement to the town. A publicly accessible amenity space with restrooms inside the building, maintained at no cost to the town, along with complimentary public internet access will be provided. A public safety office for the Wakefield Police Department will be provided at no cost to the town. And ongoing maintenance of the adjacent town-owned land by the property owner. To implement some of these conditions, the town council must accept and execute certain legal instruments. A restrictive covenant, an easement, a lease for the public safety office, and a license allowing maintenance across to access town-owned land. Article 15 of the 2025 annual town meeting warrant, which passed by the required vote, authorized the town council to accept and execute the restrictive covenant, easement, and lease. The license does not require town meeting approval. All of the legal instruments have been reviewed by town council Tom Mullen as to form and legal sufficiency and are before you this evening for your consideration. I want to thank the town council for your time and your support for the Board of Appeals, as well as I also want to thank the Friends of Lake Quannapowitt for their efforts during this process. The residents that showed up to hearings, we got a lot of support from town departments as well and their expertise. And last, I want to thank my fellow members of the board Yeah, we took this project very seriously. It was a 15-month process to get through. We did everything we could to get it right, and we hope we did. So with that, I know you already talked to Attorney McGrail. I know I saw Attorney Mullen on here as well. If you have legal questions, that they should really be head to that. But thank you.
Well, thank you, Tom, for oh, was somebody else trying to say something? Just wanted to thank you and members of the ZBA for working on this project and all the hours and hours you put into it. Fellow counselors, anyone have, or Tom Mullen, did you want to say anything or add
Madam
anything?
Chair, could I just interject if I could, Attorney
Sure.
McGrail? If I could just share my screen, because I just wanted to give the council some context on these areas that Tom was talking about. I thought it might be helpful for the council.
That would be great. Can we give him access to share?
Yeah, he should be able to.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is a color-coded plan of the entire property. So the entire 200, 400 Quantipower Parkway property is in this map is in, I'll call it purple, and yellow and pink. The green is town-owned property, which is on the shore of the lake and abuts this property. So when Mr. Lucy was talking about the restriction of the 12.7 acres, one of the documents is a restrictive covenant prohibiting future development of 12.7 acres. Those 12.7 acres, the yellow property is where the development is built. And the 12.7 acres include the purple property and the pink property, the pink piece on the land. So that's the restrictive covenant prohibits further development within those areas that they'll be preserved as open space. And then Mr. Lucy referred to the easement area, the path easement area. So there's currently a path that we're all very familiar with along the lake, which is in the green area, which is the town-owned land. Interestingly, that land is currently subject to a lease to the property owner of 200, 400 Quantipower Parkway. So although it's owned by the town, it's currently in a lease that was executed back in 1955 and runs with the land. But there is a public pathway on this property, which we're all familiar with, that is quite utilized. So the condition of the Board of Appeals requires that in the pink area, there will be another pathway constructed. So now there'll be two pathways on that end of the lake that will run parallel to each other. And also the public can have access now to this pink area as well. Whereas it was somewhat awkward because the public really only had access to the path area in the green. So now there'll be, as I mentioned, a second path in the pink area, and also in any of the grass areas, rain gardens, bridges that will be on that pink area. The public will also have access to that as well. About this point on the property in the yellow in the building, that's the public amenity area, which Mr. Lucy referred to. That's where there'll be, that's where the public safety office will be for the police station. And that's also where a public area inside will be for the public to go in and use public restrooms. And also there'll be some meeting rooms in there that the public will have access to. In this area, public internet will be provided, and that internet will spray out into the pink area as well. So if people want to, sit at this end of the lake, the public, want to utilize it, they'll have internet access in this area. Mr. Lucy referred to the public safety office. One of the documents is a lease that's been presented. Through this process, we work very closely with Chief Scory. He had a desire to have a public safety office at this end of the lake. As you know, often there'll be bicycle patrol officers around the lake in the summertime. And this is just kind of a stopping point that they'll have an office there. They can stop in, they'll have internet access, telephone, and this is at no cost to the town. The lease calls for it to be built out with, plastering, flooring, soft shell, internet, phone. So in essence, it's ready to go. And the public bathrooms will be maintained in this area. Public amenity area will be maintained by the property owner at the property owner's expense. And lastly, the license agreement, so that will be the lease for the public safety. The license agreement deals with this green area, which is the town-owned land. We've had some discussions with DPW that basically my clients are going to have professional landscapers. They're going to be maintaining all of their property, including this pink area, which is going to be open to the public, as I mentioned. So they desire to, in essence, take over the maintenance of the green town-owned land as well, and to have that maintained by their professional landscape crew. So the grass is cut on the same day, at the same time, and the Zoning Board of Appeals, as part of their approval process, required an operation and maintenance plan to be approved by them. And that's very detailed on how landscaping will be maintained in an orderly fashion. And that includes the public-owned land, which is the green area, as I mentioned. So I just wanted to give the council some context on some of these areas and how they apply to the documents. And thank you for the ability to do that. And I know you want to hear from town council as well.
Thank you so much. That it helps. The graphic definitely helped. Okay, I will open it up to my colleagues. Any questions or comments? Or actually, first I will go to Tom Mullen. Did you want to add anything, Tom?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to second everything that was said by Attorney McGrail and by Tom Lucy, and also to note that recognizing the sensitivity of this site, arguably the most visible site in Wakefield, that every word of these documents was scrutinized on our side by me, and the Developers Council was completely amenable to all requested changes or explanations. So I'm entirely satisfied with the result. And as you've heard, there was town meeting approval for the 3 documents that required it. So I look forward to getting a vote and execution from the town council tonight so that we can complete this process.
Thank you. And then if we wouldn't mind, Brian, thank you for that summary. I see in our participant list that Chief Scory is on the call. Sherry, could we just bring him over so he can just also just tell us how the communications went, and just to hear from him that they're okay with this lease agreement?
Yeah, sure. He's coming over now.
Thank you. Sorry, Chief. Wanted to bring you in. I know Brian did a great summary, but it's always good to hear from you about how this lease agreement looks.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now we can.
So Brian came to me early on in this project and asked me what I would like to see out of this project. And one of the things that I mentioned was a public safety office for us. I think with the location of this building right along the public access path that they have going into the public area of the building, it's a great opportunity for us to use this as a community outreach center. The developer has been really good to work with. One of the other things that they offered us is that they have a bicycle repair shop on site there, and they offered us the opportunity to use that if any of our bicycles need to be repaired. So I see this as a great opportunity for us to put an officer out there, whether it's the bicycle officer, somebody on foot, or just an officer stopping in a cruiser, just to have somebody there, say hello, let the community meet the officers. And of course, if we have any issues on site there, it gives us an opportunity to have a place to bring somebody and have an interview or whatever we might need the space for. So certainly appreciate what the developer's done for us and everything Brian has done as well.
Thank you so much. Thanks for hopping on the call. Counselor Constance.
Okay, thanks for the information. It's great. My question is more process oriented about the license. So, and I totally understand the desire to do consistent landscaping around the area. I guess process wise, the question I had is if there's concerns about runoff or stormwater or chemicals, or, you know, I'm just thinking the Conservation Commission on occasion raises questions about vegetation down right at that lip of the lake. Who going forward would a person address their questions to if the town is now kind of stepping away from responsibility? It's just a license. I understand that if it doesn't work out, you can revoke it, but you know, from a day to day, does that mean that the management company of 200, 400 is the one that you would address questions to? I'm just trying to figure that out.
I think I can answer that. I would say, I think it's a very good question. I would say that where it is, it's interesting now because that, as I mentioned, that property is under lease right now, so it's somewhat maintained by the prior owners of the property. We have, as part of the conservation approval for the project, there's a invasive species management plan that is required, that has been implemented for the past couple of years and is ongoing. I guess to answer your question, where it is town-owned land, I would suggest if there's any concerns on anything that's happening there, it will go through the town and then come to us through the town.
Okay.
We're happy to
thank you.
take it directly, but I think where it's, you know, my thought would be where it is town-owned land, that it will go, if any citizen had a concern, they will go to the town, who would then bring it to us.
Got it. So what happens to that old lease from the 50s? Is that going away as part of this whole
No,
project?
no.
That's a little
Yeah.
strangey.
Yeah, it's just kind of, it's there. And
Who's the lessee?
the lessee is the owner of the property. Yeah.
And to follow up on Councilor Constance's question, so does this lease agreement, like, would we look at it again, or it's forever?
It terminates, I think, in 2054. It was a 99-year lease that went into effect when American Mutual went in. And it actually had a condition on it that it had to be an insurance company, and then it went back to town meeting and they took that restriction off. So it was amended to get rid of that.
Anything else, Stacy? No.
No, the things you learn. Thank you.
Going back to first year contracts. Councilor Chrisley.
Yeah, I had a question that might not be directly related to the motion tonight. Dee, I had copied you on an email to Bill Renault over the last couple of years in talking about the development. Bill and I discussed that he was going to have the developer stripe a one-way bike lane between Quantapowhat Parkway and North Ave and the Gertrude Spalding property, approximately a one-way bike lane over the top of the circle. Do you know the status of that?
I think Bill was in process of responding to your email, but he will be on tonight, so we can maybe address that with him then.
Okay, right.
He's also in the participant list, so I don't know if he's ready to come over now, Sherry, then maybe.
Yeah, sure. I'll bring him
just
over right
pause
now.
it.
Yep.
Do you have another question, Councilor Chrisley, or is that it?
That's it for now. Thank you.
Okay, let's see if we can get him over to answer it, and then I'll go to Councilor Fox. Who looks frozen on my screen.
He is on our side, so
Yeah, he's in.
there he is.
There we
Okay.
go. I don't know why it took so long to get over, but yeah. So that was included as part of the project, John, and
Right.
that would be done prior to them occupying, which I think, Brian, you were thinking somewhere in July or so, right?
I think final somewhere. Yeah, they've
Yeah.
got a bunch of temporary, you know, the building is occupied significantly now, you know, partially, but I think the final will be sometime before July.
Yeah, I mean, they still have the top course paved, and the whole loop road isn't even open at this point because they're still constructing.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I've been over there a couple of times, sort of eyeballing the progress. I just wanted to get an update from you, Bill.
No worries.
Thank you. Thanks for coming over, Bill. We'll
Sure.
see you in a little bit. Councilor Fox.
This is probably a question for Dee with regard to the DPW giving the access to landscapers. I know you've been on a lot of back and forth about some of the vegetation concerns over in that area. what is the plan if the DPW is not involved with maintaining that water area? When there's already been some questions about landscapers that weren't town related doing work over there.
So I think moving forward, we would address it as we have been. When we get the complaint in, we then follow up with either conservation or Bill and his team go out there. So we would handle it the same way. And then if we have to address it with the owner, like Brian McGrail said, we would then do it, you know, through that mechanism that we have been doing it.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, so there's no preventative way before things happen, or does it have to be after something's happened?
Well, they have
a permit.
They have a permit. So
Yeah.
I mean, we've been addressing things as we can, as we can monitor them. But yes, I mean, we do rely on people to help us out, to let us know if they see something, to let us know, and then we
I'm
can
sure they
go-
will. That's why I didn't know if there's a way to stop it ahead of time. And Bill's been on those emails as well, so he knows.
Oh, I definitely have. Yeah.
Yeah, we prefer to be proactive.
Yeah, and we're not maintaining it currently, so just so everyone knows, it's still being maintained.
Oh, no one's maintaining that DPW town part now? Okay.
We don't do that. Yeah. Yeah.
Good to know. Thank you.
There you go. Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Butler.
Sorry, Brian, just on that lease that used to have to be an insurance company, do you remember, were you around for the town meeting where that got voted out, or is that something that happened long, long ago?
I might have been in third grade.
I was laughing. I was like,
I'm not that old, Mr. Butler.
99, Doug.
I have been around for a while, but
No, it was more just a question of like, I wasn't sure if it was with the packaging of this sale, if we had approved, I don't know, 6-7 years ago to like flip that off to the insurance company. Because I knew that it was a data center at one point, wasn't it? So
it was, yeah.
Yeah, Madam Chair.
We're a little early on the data center trend, sadly.
Madam Chair, I was around. I remember the town meeting that removed it. And I think it was in connection with that transfer to the data center. I'm not sure, but it was regarded as an empty relic. There was no purpose to be served by it anymore. I think it was in the late 90s.
It was, yeah. It was 99, Tom, I think. And I wasn't in third grade then. I'm not that young.
Any other question, Councillor
You
Butler?
could pass, Brian. You could pass.
Attorney McGrail, can I just ask you, you said that I know apartments are being rented there. Do you know what percentage are rented right now?
I think Marissa Gallo is representative of the owner. She's on tonight, and I think has been let in as a participant. Would it be okay for her to answer that question, Madam Chair? I think she's more equipped than me.
That would be great. Hi, Marissa.
Hi, Council. How are you doing? So we're doing really well with leasing so far. We're excited. So far, we have 3 phases of the project turned over. So our first 2 phases are currently online, and we have about, I would say, 91% of the first building, which is 64 units, leased already. And then phase 2, which is 160 units, we have about 53% of that leased currently. The third phase, which just turned over this month, actually, is going to be online in a few, I would say maybe in a week or 2, to start leasing. So we're excited that that'll also continue to go well for us as well. So.
And have you found a restaurant to move in?
We are currently in negotiations with a restaurant, but we're not able to disclose at this time, but things are looking good. So we're excited that we're going to be able to get someone in that space.
Yeah, we hope we'll hear from you shortly.
Yes.
You can share that
Well,
information.
yeah, we'll definitely give everyone an update once we have something finalized.
So the first in phase 1, did people start moving in there like over the summer? Was that the time?
Yes. Yes, so we turned over in August of 2025. So that was our first phase. That's one of the buildings that's along the lakefront. So then the second portion of the larger building along the 95 highway is the second phase that turned over, and that was November. And then the second portion of that larger building in the back, which was considered our third phase, is what turned over this month in February. So the last building, which we consider our phase 4, is going to be turned over. Hopefully, we're anticipating late April, early May of 2026 along the water, along the second building along the water.
Marissa, how many units are being occupied currently?
I would say we have 58 and 85. Can do some quick math. 1 second. 143.
Great, thank you so much. Well, we welcome all those new residents to our town, so that's great. Thank you.
Of course.
I just also want to say it's very unique to have 2 Marissas on this phone call, so on this Zoom. So, Councillor Carney, did I see your hand up and then go down? Is it?
Yeah, Brian asked the question that I was going to ask. The unit number.
Wanted the numbers, yeah. So 143 units. Okay, any other questions as we've got everyone in front of us? Councillor Fox.
Yeah, I'm not hitting the raise hand button, but it's going up. So I don't know what's going on.
I swear I'm not making it up. It did show up
No,
there.
no, I just saw it pop up too when you said my name, and then it went back down again without touching it. So I don't know. One of those nights.
Sometimes Zoom is actually, it like reads stuff if you've updated it. So it might be just, I don't know. Okay, and Tom, these are 4 separate votes that we have to take.
Yes, I'd recommend 4 separate votes, please.
Okay. So can I have a motion then?
Yes, Madam Chair. Move to accept and execute the restrictive covenant for conservation and open space recreation regarding 200 to 400 Quantapowhat Parkway.
Second.
And open space protection, right? Or recreation?
Oh, sorry, did I say recreation? Sorry,
said
open space protection. I apologize.
Nope, I didn't know if I read the wrong thing. Okay, any further discussion on item 1? Okay, roll call vote. Councillor Chrisley.
Yes.
Councillor Carney.
Yes.
Councillor Constance.
Yes.
Councillor Fox. Councillor Butler. I saw a thumbs up, and Councillor Chines.
Yes.
And
Yes.
myself, yes, thank you. Item 2.
Madam Chair, move to accept and execute an easement providing public access pathway rights at 200 400 Quantapowhat Parkway.
Second.
Great, motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Councillor Chrisley.
Yes.
Councillor Carney.
Yes.
Councillor Constance.
Yes.
Councillor Fox.
Yes.
Councillor Butler.
Yes.
Councillor Chines.
Yes.
And myself, yes.
All right. Move to accept and execute a lease agreement for the Public Safety Office at 200 400 Quantapowhat Parkway.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, Councillor Chrisley.
Yes.
Councillor Carney.
Yes.
Councillor Constance.
Yes.
Councillor Fox.
Yes.
Councillor Butler.
Yes.
Councillor Chines.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Thank you. And item 4.
Move to accept and execute a license permitting access to town-owned land adjacent to the property for maintenance purposes at 200 400 Quantapowhat Parkway.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Councillor Chrisley.
Yes.
Councillor Carney.
Yes.
Councillor Constance.
Yes.
Councillor Fox.
What?
I heard it. Thumbs up. Thank you. Councillor Butler.
Yes.
And Councillor Chines.
Yes.
And myself is yes. Thank you very much. Tom, please pass on to the ZBA all their appreciation for this work. Brian and Tom and Marissa, thank you for all your help. We're looking
Thank
toward
you.
it for it being fully occupied.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Item C, order for compliance.
Get off of mute. How you doing? Bill Renault, Town Engineer. I do have a PowerPoint, Madam Chair, that I can bring up. That was included in your packets. So, for some background, we received a call from the EPA back in November of last year regarding our stormwater bylaw and asking for some modifications to be made for us to maintain compliance with our municipal separate stormwater permit. So what that is, I got to kind of go through a quick little PowerPoint for you folks. So for background, the NIPD's MS4 permit, Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System Permit, is issued by EPA to municipalities to allow us to discharge our drainage to waters of the United States, so wetlands, rivers, ponds, all of that stuff. So as part of that, they have 6 minimum control measures that need to be met. We have to do some public education, so you may see our flyers that we send out that we do. You may see the town's website that has some information on it for public involvement. We have an illicit discharge and detection elimination program, which is looking for sewer that's cross-connected to the drainage. So we have a budget annually for that to test the outfalls and to look for any potential connections. We're required to look at construction runoff control during construction and to make sure that that is being captured and cleaned prior to any discharge to water to the U.S. So that's like the silt fencing and that type of stuff. And then there's post-construction management, which is basically requiring the drainage designs to be completed with certain things that have to happen, including phosphorus removal and some other pieces. And then good housekeeping, which is just us doing the maintenance of the basins and of just our overall facilities and whatnot. So the reason that they wrote us is because of our stormwater bylaw, which is the post-construction management part of this. So we have 3 things that we need to update, and this is something that we were actually looking at doing as part of my group. We were looking to do this and bring it to town meeting about a year ago or so, and we pushed it, another year or so, as we wanted to make a lot of other changes to it too, like housekeeping changes to fix, certain, I would say, some conflicting information within the bylaw. So the 3 things that we needed to add are low impact development requirements. So that's basically the stuff that you see on the screen here: rain gardens, bioretention areas, porous pavers, tree box filters. We have to require that as part of the design, which we do. We have to have new developments meet a 90% total suspended solids removal. So that's basically grit and things that are in sand that gets picked up by the stormwater and ends up in the basins and eventually in the system. 60% total phosphorus removal. And then all of that's for new developments. Redevelopments, it's an 80% TSS removal and a 50% total phosphorus removal. So Mass DEP was in the process of actually making a lot of changes, and they started back in, I want to say this would have been 2020, 2018, maybe 2020, somewhere in that range. And I actually was I was the MMA representative on the stormwater working group that was making these amendments. And we had all of these changes actually planned to be included within Mass DEP's changes. So it obviously would have been a moot point. We would need to update our bylaw. But they've been slow to get their stuff out. So EPA is hitting up all these municipalities. And I've heard from a bunch of my my other engineering folks in other towns that they've also got the same phone calls to update their bylaws as well. So besides the changes that EPA required, we decided to, like I mentioned, some housekeeping changes. So we want to consolidate the process. Right now we have 2 separate stormwater permit processes, one for stormwater management and then one for land disturbance. We're just going to make that one permit process that accomplishes both. We wanted to add a smaller administrative permit process for small projects like single-family home additions and small things that may need to be looked at. And then clarify the permit jurisdiction. So anything above 15,000 square feet of land disturbance is what's in the bylaw currently. EPA requires us to have this process for anything that disturbs an acre or above. But when the bylaw was originally approved back in 2013 or so, the town decided to go with a lower threshold. I'm guessing because of the size of our lots in town being so much smaller, and the need to review some stormwater issues. Anything below 15,000 square feet would be handled through the building permit process. So sometimes Ben will hit me up to do a stormwater review for a project where somebody might be filling their lot and changing drainage patterns or sheeting one off onto somebody else's property. The building code allows for that to be corrected through the building inspector, so it kind of talks about what that process would be. We also would be reviewing so anything that's going through a ZBA, Planning Board, and Conservation Commission, and getting a permit that receives a stormwater review. That we clarified that would not have to get a separate permit, but the ZBA, Planning Board, and Conservation Commission will actually be the boards issuing those permits as part of their process. So kind of streamlining folks for applicants. We're getting the review done. No need to really go through and just have a redundant process. And then we also had a 6,000 square feet of disturbance in the bylaw on a 3-to-1 slope, but it didn't explain if it's existing or proposed, and we've been challenged on that a couple of times. I don't really know any other communities that have this, so we're looking to strike that part. We would handle it through the building inspector process and building permit process. We also wanted to clarify performance standards for the erosion sediment control, and then also for the stormwater standards. And then we wanted to also update conflicting bylaws, rules and regulations of the Planning Board and ZBA that all have different types of stormwater review stuff that's noted. One being, the Public Works Director will review to make sure no additional stormwater is going to the street. Well, that's so broad, it's not really usable. And we end up having them go through a more detailed process. This just kind of lays the groundwork for all of that. And then we also want to look to create a new drainage revolving funds for the applications and for funds that we receive in conjunction with these reviews to be spent on drainage improvements as needed. The performance standard pieces, I won't read through these, but these give you kind of a general hierarchy view of what we're looking for. Minimizing land disturbance, putting in erosion controls, diverting water where we can, making sure we're not tracking stuff onto the roadways. And then the stormwater standards that we want to highlight. So for the administrative approval, we'd be looking for, an inch, 1 inch per square foot of newly created impervious surface. So they would be basically storing that, any additional impervious area that they create, and then maintaining drainage patterns to the maximum extent that we can. And then for our larger projects, we would be we're maintaining the same stuff in the black. So right now you have to meet all DEP stormwater standards regardless of whether it goes to the Conservation Commission or not. Control peak rate of runoff and volume of runoff, which is what we have today. We're keeping that. Maintaining drainage patterns, and then obviously the three pieces that we're adding being the 90% TSS and 60% phosphorus for new developments, and then redevelopments at 80 TSS and 50 total phosphorus, and the LID use for the site planning. So that's basically it. So we had a phone call with them back in November, which was very productive. They sent the letter to us on the 5th of this month, basically just telling us that we need to do this. You have a copy of the bylaw in the draft. I've received Tom Mullen's comments on that today, Friday, I think. So I'll be making changes to that, and then I'll be going to the Conservation Commission, ZBA, and Planning Board for their comments as well. So something that we were in the process of doing. So easy lift for us, and we'll have this ready for town meeting in the spring.
Great. Thank you so much. Tom Mullen, do you want to add anything?
No, I thought Bill's draft was excellent. I just had some extremely minor edits, something I'm sure we're going to be able to work out before town meeting.
For sure.
Okay, Councillor Butler.
Quick question, Bill. In terms of the requiring the 90% and 60% on new and 80 and 60 on redevelopments, is that more constraining, or is that what the EPA requires us to go to?
That's a requirement. Yeah.
Okay, so that isn't us being like going above and beyond. This is just an EPA regulation that, that our developers will have to live with. Okay.
Yeah, and just to it isn't even probably any more cost, to be honest with you, because with the no volume requirement increase, you're already meeting it with the infiltration that's needed for that. So all of our projects that are getting approved, are meeting all of these. So it's more of just a kind of a paperwork exercise, I'd say.
Okay, so like 200, 400 would have met this regardless anyway. Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Councillor Chrisley?
Similar question, Bill. Thanks for the presentation. Very interesting topic. On the lots below 15,000 square feet, since we do have a lot of small lots in Wakefield, do you know, or in the context of developing this bylaw, how many does that seem to have a low, medium, high impact on construction on smaller lots?
No, this is memorializing how things are done anyway. So anything conservation permit already does what we would require. So not changing drainage patterns and infiltrating, an inch of any new impervious surfaces. That's pretty common on how we do it. And I would say honestly, from Ben's provided me maybe, I want to say a handful of these that we review a year, if that. And then for the bylaw itself, like to come through because this goes to the Advisory Board of Public Works if it doesn't go through another board. Since I've been here, we've had 2. So just to give you an idea of what you're not really seeing it happen too often, because usually anything that's hitting these thresholds are going through a separate permitting process anyway.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that.
Sure.
Councillor Shine, did I see your hand?
You did, but it was covered by Councillor Krisky and Councillor Butler's questions.
Any other questions? So, Bill, do you need a vote from us today, or is this just an update?
This was more of an update, just because we received the letter, so you folks know we're on top of it. You'll have the bylaw submitted, for town meeting, so we're on track for that. And I'll be going to the other boards, so not really. Just giving you an update.
Thank you. And can you name those other boards that you will be going to?
Yep, Conservation Commission. So I've sent emails out to folks on it. So I will be at the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Planning Board, in their upcoming meetings in early March.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, then thank you, Bill.
Great, folks. Thanks. Have a great night.
Okay, moving on to item D. We're starting our fiscal budgets again. Let's go to budget 3, the IT department. Or actually, I'll go to D, and D, you can introduce, D and Liz can introduce the team in whichever order they want.
Sure. So I see Liz. I think Todd should be joining as well.
Yep, Todd's on, and Stefan Chase from the Finance Committee's on as well.
Excellent. All right. Liz and Todd, do you want to take it away?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. This afternoon, Todd, myself, and the Finance Committee subcommittee for Information Technology met to review the budget submission for FY27. And we had various conversations about certain software maintenances, the transferring of all telephone expenses to IT. And I will let Todd take it away in great detail. He breaks out every expense possible. So it's a good description and illustration of Information Technology's operating budget.
Great, thanks, Liz. I can share a screen here if that's okay.
Yeah, you should be able to.
Okay, did that show up for everyone?
No, your texts are actually showing up. There you go. You're all set.
There we go. Technology.
There you go.
Yeah, so this year's budget, as Liz stated, we did go through that this afternoon. And what we have is we're requesting $630,643 for the FY27 budget. This is an increase of $165,029 over FY26. The bulk of this increase we're going to see in contractual services, but going down the list, we have personal services increasing by $6,470. That's a 2% placeholder on salaries. Contractual services are increasing by $146,867. Now, part of that is we are consolidating the telephone budget from all departments into just the IT budget. So we're going to see a reduction of about 100,000 across other departments. And this will give us a better picture as to how that telephone budget is spent every year too. Also under contractual services, we have an increase in software maintenance. So that's like our main program. We have Munis, which takes up about half of our software maintenance. So Munis is about 148,000. That is going up, software maintenance going up 28,000 this year. And we have an increase in training of 18,000. We're going to be doing more training with 365 and Tyler Technologies. Material and supplies, not that much at all. It's an increase just based on fuel cost estimates. And the last upgrade we had was sundry charges, an increase of $11,094. And that increase is coming primarily from the 365 licensing. Microsoft announced increases coming out in July, and we anticipate roughly about 10,000 of that 11 is for Microsoft licensing. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Todd. Any questions on the IT budget, department budget? Counselor Chines.
I don't know, actually, Dee, it seemed like you moved your hand, so I didn't know if you had anything you were adding just before I jumped in. Okay, thank you. Okay. Thank you very much, Todd and Liz, for pulling this together. And just a couple of things I do want to highlight first in terms of what I appreciate. One is the level of detail in the budget in terms of all of the contracts and the contractual items. There's a lot here that gets bundled into one budget, and so being able to see sort of the line-by-line budget in terms of the software programs that we're using, the hardware expenses is extremely helpful. So thank you for that level of detail. I also do want to say thank you for finally moving us to Microsoft 365. I know that's been something I know, Todd, you've been talking about for a couple of years. And it's a big change, but it's good to see that we've kind of upgraded our core systems platforms to something that's a little bit more modern. This might be a question, Liz, more for you, but on the telephone piece, could you speak a little bit about where that's coming from? And I only ask just because in the budgets we've looked at so far, it doesn't seem like they're huge changes in the telephone lines. Like I know there's still a pretty hefty line item, for example, in the police budget that we'll be looking at in a few minutes. And so I'm having trouble sort of following where the $100,000 is flowing from. If you could maybe speak to that a little bit.
Sure. So, and Todd can as well. Todd went and compiled all of the phone bills because basically IT pays every department's phone bill, and then we do an internal departmental transfer to offset those in the IT department's budget. So I would leave it to the pro of Todd to explain that, but it has some other components than just the cost of the landlines.
Yeah, so what we are covering here is basically the centralized phone system that covers all town buildings. And historically, when this was first started, it was based upon these were the costs that each department had for their analog lines and for the hardware for those phones. So from that point to present day, it's been everyone would still budget for a certain amount for phones, and then all of those phone budgets, it would be internal transfers, like Liz said, over to IT. We would take those funds and we manage two centralized locations where the town's phone lines leave the town, and we manage all the hardware that connects all the buildings for all the VoIP system.
Got
So
it.
some departments, you're going to see a reduction of maybe as little as $100, and some you might see a lot more, like 20,000.
So just again, just to dig into this a little bit more, because like just poking at a couple of the departments we have, police and library, I guess I'm not seeing any reduction in those. I just want to understand if we're double counting some of the telephone costs. I think it makes total sense to budget this within IT. I think telephony is like an IT service, and it makes total sense that the IT department is managing it. I just, again, I'm just not seeing the offsets in the few budgets we've reviewed so far, and that's where I just want to make sure I'm understanding if we will be seeing more of those offsets as we go through, if there'll be revisions to some of the budgets we've already been approved, or how that will play out.
Yeah, I
I
haven't
think
seen
one
all
of the
those.
best, yes, I would think one of the best ways for at least me to illustrate that to you, or myself and Todd to illustrate that, is compile what the annual budget amount is for each department over the past few years, because those amounts did not change, and then show you it moving into IT. So I will put together a spreadsheet, and at our next budget meeting, we'll have a whole tally of what got taken out of every department's budget, putting it into IT. One of the things that is not being centralized in IT and will be in FY28 is any cell phones. Those cell phones are staying within the departments, and some departments like the police department have cell phones. So just
Got it.
keep that in mind too.
Okay, got it. So when we look at the telephone line, it's not it's not a single line item.
Correct. Yeah, it's
Okay.
there. It's commingled. It's yep.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you for the clarification. Just the second thing that I wanted to ask about was with some of the additional costs for Microsoft, both in terms of sort of training and some of the dues, are there offsets in terms of other software platforms that we've been able to sunset, or other trainings that we're no longer doing because of the transition?
Yeah, so whereas we're just getting into this now, we're actually going to use that training to look into make sure we're taking full advantage of 365.
Got it.
And then to see if there's anything that we can either develop internally in itself to replace services that we're paying for right now. We do see like there's a possible decrease of $8,000 that's already adjusted in this budget for antivirus software if we move to the Microsoft platform, as an example.
Great. All right, that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Just if I could, one other process that we discussed in our budget meeting with Todd was streamlining when departments want to purchase software specific to their operations. The process becomes IT and the department, and Liz and I get involved in that as well. So departments are purchasing software in a comprehensive view. Can Munis do something that, the assessor's office might want to do? Do we already have that capacity in-house? Because as you know, these software companies want to sell you the latest and greatest and best, the flashy thing. So what we're doing is taking a step back and saying, is this really what we want to be purchasing? And is this something we can utilize between departments? Just an example is our recreation software. Now the senior center is going to be using it as well. So that was just one area where we were able to streamline the process, but also add utility for another department.
Thank you, Dee. Counselor Butler.
Hey, Todd, a couple of questions. One is trying to get my hands around the difference between what we appropriated this year for personal services and what we've actually spent sort of halfway through the year. So it looks like, we're, significantly over budget through this year, but I assume that doesn't account for the transfers that you've got in there.
You got it exactly right.
And I'm trying to understand, what is the enterprise fund transfer there that covers the salaries? Like, help me understand that.
Sure. Enterprise fund comes from the water department and gas and light department. So they can contract services out of IT instead of going outside to third parties.
So water, sewer, and schools are paying, looks like roughly 75–80% of the personnel services.
In gas and light, yeah.
Yeah, so that's just surprising to me that we had it, because I don't think they typically pay that much of most of our groups in terms of reserve fund or fund transfers from the enterprise. And more power to you, Administrator Casey, for getting them to pick up the tab. And then on the contractual services side, I get sort of the increase in the software spend. It's sort of a big bump up in training, it looks like, and you said that's around Munis. Is that going to be sort of to broadly build out Munis capabilities, or is that concentrated trainings for like the people who use it most?
Well, it's two different parts. So there's an increase in 365 training, which we haven't had in the past. And there's an increase in Munis training too. Whereas
it looked like the Munis training was the big number.
Yeah, we had eliminated a position last year, and there were certain parts that were on like the back end, like the server management, that we need to get trained on just to backfill that role.
And if I may, we're not utilizing certain modules in Munis that we currently own, particularly in the human resources area, that we will be looking to implement.
Okay. And then I think my last one was, over the last few years, like our dues and memberships have gone from like 9 and 13 grand a year to next year it's 93. What are we joining that is costing us so much?
Right. So that's the 365 subscription.
Oh, we bundle 365 into memberships. Okay.
Yeah.
That's an
we just
interesting
figured
place to put.
subscriptions. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think that's it for me.
Any other questions from town councilors? And then I want to be mindful, is Stefan the liaison to the IT department?
Yes.
Okay, I think he's on this call. Stefan, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for Todd and Liz meeting with us. As always, and I think as you guys had mentioned before, the extreme amount of detail that goes into this budget is amazing. It's great. It provides significant transparency and insight into the budget and how things have operated over time. Yeah, over the years, Todd has mentioned this over the years. The IT department does run a lean ship. They've spent a considerable amount of time trying to firm things up over the year, consolidate, as you can see, where it makes most sense. This year in the phone lines, there was mention that this consolidation could provide some value, or provide some opportunities for savings once everything is essentially consolidated and managed and understood. There was mention too that in the future, mobile device management could be considered. And coming from private industry, I think that's excellent. But that's it.
Thank you so much. So, yeah, I think the device is something to think about in the future for future budgeting. And also, as Councillor Butler had mentioned, moving from Zoom to Teams, if that's something that we're going to do, if we're paying this much for our subscription to Teams, do we move to Teams meetings and not Zoom meetings? So I know he had asked that at a previous meeting, and
Are we paying Zoom?
I'm sure we have a Zoom membership, right?
Yeah, we do pay for Zoom now.
Okay.
And we will be testing out Teams to see if that makes sense to move there as well.
It looks like, if I'm reading the right line, it looks like we pay about $8,000 a year for Zoom.
Correct.
Which is, as we test out Teams, I mean, that's not a huge number at the end of the day. I think, understanding the functionality and the ease of use for the public, I think would be an important factor into deciding whether or not we stay on Zoom or Teams. I mean, again, $8,000 in a municipal budget of 100 million plus feels pretty light.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions about the IT department budget? Do I have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, move to approve the IT department budget for fiscal year 2027 as presented.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councillor Constance. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Councillor Chrisley.
Yes.
Councillor Carney. I'm going to take a thumbs up too. Oh, I'll come back to you. Councillor Constance.
Yes.
I just saw you come off mute. John?
Yes.
Councillor Fox? Councillor Butler?
Yes.
Councillor Chines?
Yes.
And myself is yes. Thank you very much, Todd. Budget for the Treasury Department.
You should have
Sherry.
Ed?
Yep, we have Ed.
Okay, great.
Yes. Yep.
I see his photo.
Yeah, he's on.
Okay, great.
Ed, can you hear us?
I can,
Brian,
yes. Can you hear
raising
me?
your hand again, or just your hand is being raised again for you?
Oh, Brian Fox.
No, I did not raise my hand again. No questions here.
Welcome back, Treasurer Dombrowski. Nice to see you on this side, on the same side of the Zoom call.
Indeed.
Tell us about your budget.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm actually joined this evening by Susan Bernardinelli, who is one of the members of our team of three. We're small but mighty and nimble. So thank you, Susan, for joining us tonight. A lot of good news to report from the treasurer's side of things, but with respect to the budget specifically, I'll walk through that. We were able to employ a zero-based budgeting practice to this department because of the size of the budget. I know that Town Administrator Casey and our town accountant are looking to make changes with the way we approach budgeting going forward, but I know it was a tight budget season by the time Town Administrator Casey came in. But fortunately, with the size of this budget, we were able to do zero-based budgeting. Ultimately, we end up as a revenue generating department. For calendar 25, our revenue was about 5.312 million, and that is certainly an all-time high. That is a reflection of the amount of borrowing we've been doing, but also how we've been investing and holding the funds that we have received. And we've taken a very different approach. I've negotiated with every bank and institution to make sure we're maximizing interest rates without running afoul of any sort of arbitrage issues. And even simple things like the way that excise tax dollars come from the collector to our office and then where they're deposited and how they're held, we're able to generate a good amount of revenue, certainly. And I'd put us up against the building department, I think in a lot of ways. Ultimately, this budget is rather straightforward, but I'll walk through with you quickly and certainly happy to answer any questions. So again, we begin with salaries, personal services. Those are contractual obligations that the town has. No flexibility there. Everything else, though, within this budget has been scrutinized and built from the bottom up. You'll note that contractual services are down. Sundry charges are up a large percentage, but that's only a $160, a line item, and that's a function of a membership to an association that hadn't been actively engaged with previously. Going through, we were able to cut the bank charges line significantly, and ultimately, the breakdown is as reflected within your packets. Equipment maintenance and the like, that's always an unknown, but we had it at 500. Printing and binding, that really deals with things like tailings. There's a lot of statutory requirements in terms of making sure that we are printing in a local newspaper, i.e. the item, when there are, for instance, checks that go uncashed either by individuals or entities that the town has cut them to. So that's a process, and each of those is about $2,000, give or take. We don't really have a lot of flexibility there. The professional services financial, that could be anything. Often it relates to Munis. We had some changeover with the Munis system you heard about earlier. That's really the operating system, if you will, for the whole town, and we avail ourselves of certain changes from time to time there. Postage is just a reflection of the postage rates that we have. Telephone, I know there was discussion of that in the last budget. Telephone is actually a cellular phone that is held within the department for a very specific purpose. It has a dedicated number, and it's part of multi-factor authentications that the banks require when we're making the sort of transactions that we do. So it's a telephone that has to receive voice because certain banks require that. Otherwise, there are text messages that have to be responded to, but it's not used by anyone for any other purpose but that multi-factor authentication. And travel inside the Commonwealth, that likely could be related to a conference, and we've held that at $20 to reduce that as well, but I suspect in all likelihood that will end up being zero. Net, where we end up with this budget is under a 1% increase. It's actually only 0.75% at 0.77%, and that's despite the fact that the contractual obligations that we have no control over within the department actually require almost 3.5 times that. So contractual obligations went up by about $6,700, but the totality of this budget only went up by $1,954. So I'm proud of the team effort, and I thank Susan and our other colleague Kim Nolan, who unfortunately couldn't be with us tonight due to the weather. But we have worked hard to make sure that we're as lean as we can. And again, I'm really proud of the fact that we've hit a new revenue record at over $5.3 million in what we've generated. And I think we're in a very good financial position right now. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions relative to the budget.
Thank you. And Liz, or do you want to add anything about this budget?
I appreciate, Ed and his team really going through everything line by line, which is what we asked of all departments. So thank you, Ed and Susan and the team.
And then I see you, Councilor Carney. Just Stefan, does this fall under you as well?
No.
It does not.
It does
I'm
not.
sorry, no, not this particular budget.
Is this the liaison? Is the FinCom liaison on the call, Sherry, or not for this budget?
No, I don't see him on.
Okay, great. Councilor Carney.
Yeah, Ed, you're talking about the revenue. I'm assuming that's off the money we borrowed in the investment of same. Where is that recorded here? It's not.
Yes, Councilor Carney, it is primarily that, yes. The borrowing actually didn't close until early fall. It was basically right around I think it was the first week of September. But that is a lot of it. We for many reasons have the money spread across several different institutions. We have made just making sure that we're not parking it all in one place, and I've negotiated with each of those to make sure we get the highest interest rates that we can. The money that we have, obviously, we've been going through because bills have become due. I know we just paid about $10 million in the last AP, but while we have it, while we're holding it, I'm trying to maximize the interest we're getting on it. Case in point, we have $25 million invested and it was earning 4.75% as a case in point, which is a really good return on that. I've spoken to some other investment folks who deal specifically in this area, and the town is actually doing over 1.45 percentage points better than where they could even come in at that. So I'm really pleased with where we are with that. The other piece of that, Councilor Carney, is things like excise tax. When I came into office, there was about 9 million sitting in an account that was getting 1%. And so now that that money has been transferred into an account that yet yields us a significantly higher interest. I think we're at 4.4 if I'm not mistaken. So those are the ways in which we're able to generate the revenue. But there's no question that the borrowing that we've had over the last calendar year tied into the interest rates that we've enjoyed, has certainly helped that. But it's also making sure that we're parking the dollars where they're going to work the hardest for us.
But
Carney,
just to go ahead.
I was going to say, you don't see, these are expense budgets. That's on the revenue side. So when you see the revenue budget, that's where you'll see the $5 million in investment income. So good question. It's not represented here, but you will see it.
Right.
And that is going to decrease significantly over the next couple of years, though.
I hope it does, because if it doesn't, it means we're borrowing a whole lot more money. I don't think the tax rate can handle that. You'll also see it in the town report too. I'm working with my team on just finishing that up, and all of the numbers will be broken down in the town report as well. I think the exact number is 5.318 and change, if I'm not mistaken. But that's where that, Councilor Carney, it'll be printed there. Yes.
Thank you.
Dee and Liz, you're working on like some sort of document to tell all the revenue coming in, right? Because when we discussed the rec department, like we'd love to see that. So just of what, because yes, this is what we are spending money, but we'd love to see the money coming in as well. Thank you.
Yep,
Yes, I have a whole revenue plan to present.
Great.
I'll just mention one other point, if I may, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
For tax Title II, that's another issue. So anyone that's basically delinquent in their taxes, my office, takes the approach of trying to collect those, to negotiate when appropriate. Certainly, the town gets every dollar plus all the statutory interest under any circumstance. There are no quote unquote deals cut. There might just be a payment plan, but the interest continues to accrue at the statutory rates. But with that, you see the tax title line item that actually we do end up expending to our law firm Coppola and Coppola when we do end up pursuing that legally. But then we end up collecting back. So part of the revenue that we generate is also when we're successful in doing that, and we have a good number of tax titles we're able to close out too, and we're going to try to be more tuned into that going forward, that where we have as much revenue coming in as we can, also and accommodating of certain circumstances as may arise for certain taxpayers.
Thank you, Councilor Butler.
Sure. Oh, wow. I knocked down my hand automatically there. You said there's roughly about $5 million of investment income last year, Ed?
Of interest. That's
of
the
interest. So,
right.
So
invest everything. It's almost entirely money that is very liquid. So it's some is in CDs, most of it's in just bank accounts.
Oh, I would. It's not in money market funds anywhere.
It is that as well. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I would assume that
it's a combination. It's money market. We need to have it liquid because AP is, so whatever we can put it in, maybe a 3 month. Some we've put in 3 month CDs, things of that nature.
I mean, by the way, 4.75, snatch that all day long. More to the point, so we averaged about over $100 million in cash on the books most of the year. That it just see $5 million unless does investment income also, realized gains of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it includes that. So that
we also work with Hilltop Securities. Absolutely. Yes, of course. Yes.
Okay. But yeah, but we wouldn't have realized gains from Hilltop, would we?
Not from Hilltop, but we do. The majority of the 5.3 is from the borrowing that we had in the fall. And in the first tranche of that we had, that was before my time. So I think that was what we borrowed in about the year prior. So I think it was the latter part of 24, right?
Yeah, it's more just I'm trying to figure out how to like the $5 million number seems really large. That's the part that I'm trying to get my hands around. Like, how did we have that much in liquid assets when I didn't realize we had done all of the borrowings to that extent.
We got about 100. We closed at about 106 million when we did in September.
Yeah, but that wouldn't
that
give
was the
you
second,
like
and that was the second
that
half of the borrowing. We had already had funds.
Yeah, it's just weird. The $5 million number just seems really big. And that's I guess what I'm trying to reconcile, because even if, and there really wasn't anything that was yielding you north of 5% in cash over any of this time. It's just a big number. So like that's the part that I would say if I was on the finance committee, or for you really to understand like how to reconcile that number with our amount of cash. And impressive work on the budget, getting the banks to knock out their fees. But I mean, and we can take this offline, but
we actually don't pay any fees. I mean, there is one bank that has been persistent in trying to assess an amount against us for a lower balance that we've had to challenge a number of times, but as a town, we're not paying, we're really not paying bank fees.
As a full disclosure, I will say I do not believe that to be Rockland Trust. So, but
it's not.
Yeah, I think I'll chat with you about it offline. Just trying to reconcile that number seemed tough to me.
Okay, any other questions about budget 4? And Susan, I want to be mindful. I see you on here. Is there anything you need to add?
No, thank you. No, and I'm fairly new to the position myself in learning about the budget, so I'm thankful that I was invited and get to listen and be a part of it. So thank you.
Thank you for joining. Always
Thank
appreciate
you.
when people join at night.
Yes.
Okay, so do I have a motion, Jonathan?
Yes, move to approve the Treasury Department budget for fiscal year 2027 as presented.
Second.
And I had a second. Thank you so much. Any further discussion? Counselor Chrisley,
Yes.
Counselor Carney,
Yes.
Counselor Constance,
Yes.
Counselor Fox, Counselor Butler,
Yes.
Counselor Chines,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Thank you very much, Susan and Ed. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Have a good night. Thanks.
Take care.
Budget 14, the planning department.
And I know we have Marissa here.
Hello again. And I think Erin Kokinda is here as well. My department head, our director of community and economic development.
Turn over now.
Give her a second.
Everyone, how are you doing tonight? I'm
Good.
one of the lucky ones that got stranded at a tropical island due to the wonderful snow you're all dealing with right now, so I apologize. But thank you so much. This is kind of a hard budget to be presenting between some significantly larger budgets tonight, so I'll be quick. We'll be quick. But as Marissa said, she's here to answer any questions as well. I just want to give you all very quick background on kind of what our office does to support the planning board and how this budget, how that plays into this budget here. So our office provides administrative and technical support to the planning board. So this includes coordinating meetings, public hearings, preparing agendas, staff reports, ensuring we're compliant with all state and local land use requirements, as we've seen over the last 2 years, and then facilitating any communications between the planning board and the public. And so this budget helps support operational needs of the planning board. And again, that includes legal notices, advertising, administrative support, and training to ensure transparent, consistent, and legally sound decision making. So overall, our fiscal year 27 recommended budget is stable, and it's a 2.1% over fiscal year 26. And so it's an increase of 10,775 to 11,000, so about $225 increase, so not anything crazy. The personnel services, the first line item, has been level funded since fiscal year 25, and it remains unchanged this year. And this supports our wonderful planning board clerk, Susan Ald, who helps prepare meeting materials, maintain any records that we may need, helps with legal. Oh, sorry. ensures, ensures that we're, doing all the right things. In contractual services, you'll see here that we've increased some of our advertising just to make sure that we have adequate funding for some of our required legal notices that we have to do with the planning board. Marissa and I have been talking with the planning board chair, and some things that, we're interested in doing would require public hearings. So we made sure that we included that within this upcoming year budget. But at the same time, we removed printing and binding, the line item to 0 due to doing basically everything, most of our things online, so not needing that money right now. And then we also adjusted travel inside the Commonwealth to reflect kind of some anticipated training that we'd like to do, Marissa and myself, as well as potentially the planning board members. Materials and supplies, you'll see, was decreased just to actually reflect past years, and just based on what the spending trends have been. And we just didn't see the need to have it at the level that it's been the last few years. And the number that we kept, we feel like we can still meet our operational needs. And the last one you'll see is the sundry charges, and you'll see an increase in that. And that was intentional. It's to support not only the planning board, but also staff training when it comes to planning initiatives. And something that Marissa and I have been talking about is, having the opportunity for ourselves to do more training when it comes to any sort of planning work, as well as offering it to our planning board members as well, and just making sure that we're staying, on top of any planning best practices. So as you'll see, it hasn't changed much, but I just wanted to kind of go through each line item. Marissa, is there anything that you think I may have forgot?
No, you pretty much covered it all.
Thank you so much, Erin. You've got a lovely glow about you. We're all very jealous. So thank you. Thank you for that. I think that's the most in-depth I've ever gone into about the planning department budget in my 9 years. Can you tell me how many hearings on average you all do? Do you know?
Public hearings, that's challenging. I don't have that number on the top of my head, but I'd say definitely the last few years has been an increase between the ADUs that we had to put in place, as well as the MBTA community. So that's why there's been sort of an increase with those. Marissa, what would you say? And then any other like subdivisions, A&Rs, those have been,
Yeah,
very
I think
little.
Yeah, at least I would say at least 2 a year for the zoning bylaw articles that are brought onto the warrant for town meeting. So one for the spring, one for the fall. Although I think maybe this year we're not anticipating any changes for the spring town meeting, and I think maybe even going forward we might just want to put them off to the fall town meeting anyway, and let sort of the bigger ticket items from the warrant at the spring town meeting. And then subdivisions are really the only other public hearing sort of application or filing that come before the planning board. A&Rs are exempt from public hearing notices. The subdivision that we just wrapped up had already been opened by the time that I started in August. And so, once you open it once and then you just continue that public hearing, it never has to be re-advertised unless something drastically changes about the maybe content of the application. But once you notice it once, you just have the attorney continue it with the vote of the planning board to the next regularly scheduled meeting. So maybe one or two subdivisions a year, give or take. So I would say
at most
between, what'd you say, Erin?
At most.
That tracks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say between maybe 4 to 5 public hearing notices a year.
And
The
those are
thing
actually,
with those,
and I
oh, go ahead.
apologize, those are actually paid by the applicant itself. So really, we're only paying for
Right.
zoning legal notices.
Correct. And the thing is, though, with the zoning bylaw legal notices is that they can be pretty lengthy because we do oftentimes, we have to, if we don't advertise the full text, we have to advertise enough text that makes the legal notice, I guess, legitimate. If anybody questions sort of the verbiage in the legal notice, it could render it as sort of illegitimate. You know, you have to notify the public what exactly it is that you are talking about. So with this last public hearing that we did following the fall town meeting, there were actually changes to some of the zoning bylaw articles, or actually no, from the Springtown meeting, the Attorney General had responded back with some changes to the zoning bylaw articles that were approved at Springtown meeting, and those had to be noticed. And the full text of those changes from the AG had to be in the item. So those were some pretty pricey ads, but so just for I guess some context, but yeah, sometimes when we do advertise zoning bylaw changes, they can get pretty lengthy, just so we can, you know, make sure things are legally squared away. But otherwise, you know, subdivision, as Erin said, subdivision notices are paid for by the applicant, so that's not something that we assume as a cost.
Thank you. Any questions from my fellow counselors? No. And then do we have a FinCom representative?
No.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Move to approve the planning department budget for fiscal year 2027 as presented.
Okay.
Seconded. Great. Thank you. Any further discussion? Counselor Chrisley,
Yes.
Counselor Carney,
Yes.
Counselor Constance,
Yes.
Counselor Fox,
Yes.
Counselor Butler,
Yes.
Counselor Tynes,
Yes.
and myself. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Erin, hope you get
Thanks,
back.
everyone.
Thank you, Marissa. Moving on, budget 16, police department, Chief Scory.
Good afternoon. So the police department budget has gone up. This year will be $8,031,261, which is an increase of $99,428 from last year's budget, for an overall increase of 1.2%. Personnel services are increasing $128,428. There are officers who are getting longevity steps increases, step increases. There have been some retirements, so some numbers went down. The majority of this number is my request for an additional officer, which I'll get to at the end. Contractual services is being reduced by $38,000, and I'll go line by line on that in a minute. Materials and supplies, an increase of $8,000, and sundry charges, an increase of $1,000. In personal services, I'm asking for an increase of $1,500 for the July 4th line item. The pay rate for July 4th is tied to the detail rate. The detail rate went up this year, so the pay rate for the July 4th also went up. So I'm requesting an extra $1,500 there. In contractual services, I am asking for a $2,000 increase for maintenance for radios. Our service provider that we use for radios, 2 years ago, in fiscal year 2025, the contract with the service provider was $19,475.88. FY26, that went up $6,000 to $25,023. So I think just by adding $2,000, we can still cover our other expenses and cover that contract. If I find that doesn't be the case, then next year I'll ask for more money, but I think a $2,000 increase will suffice there. The other change is to professional services, line 5316. We're reducing that by $40,000. We lost our recovery coach last year, She took a full-time job in the town of Stoneham. We were able to find a replacement through Elliott Community Services. She came here, she worked for a little while, just found that it wasn't busy enough for her here. She went back to Lynn. And what we found is that Officer Rando and our mental health clinician are doing a great job of covering that role. So we would rather see the money go back to the health department. We don't feel that we need it here at this time. Moving on to materials and supplies. Line item 5481, I'm asking for a increase of $8,000 there for motor vehicle parts. The cost of repairs for our cars has gone up significantly just in the last few years. You'll see that actual expenditures in FY25 were $27,291. We were budgeted for $20,000. This year we're already almost $1,000 over budget. So I'd like to increase that line item to $28,000. And then for sundry charges, I'm asking for an additional $1,000 to cover increases in dues. I know that the dues membership for NEMLEC is going up next year. So I'm asking for an extra $1,000 there. Are there any questions on personal services? As far as step increases or longevity increases, we had 2 officers that got their master's degree this year, so they're getting a bump in pay for education incentive. Are there any questions on that?
Yeah, always. Like the Quinn bill stopped in 2009. I guess the question is like why, what is the import of like maintaining, officers who weren't covered under that? What is the import in maintaining like the benefits of getting either a bachelor's or an associate's or a master's degree? Like it feels like the master's a 25% kickers. It's a lot of money, Chief.
So anybody who had their who was on the job before the Quinn bill was abolished in 2009, it was negotiated into the contract that they would maintain their full.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right, and then anybody hired after that date, for a associate you get 5%, bachelor's you got 10%, and for a master's it was 15%. So
okay, so it came down.
Yeah, it did. And the purpose of having this is so that we can attract good quality educated candidates, right? Put smart police officers on the road, you get better results, your liability factor goes down. It's just a better quality of service to the community. That's the importance of having educated police officers.
Yeah, I guess then the other question is like overtime and everything else, does that go off the Quinn bill adjusted rates?
So as Quinn bill officers retire, yes. There's only a handful of us, to be honest with you. So as they retire and
No, I just mean the educational incentive that boosts their hourly. So then if they're doing overtime, that it's time and a half on the higher rate.
Correct. That's correct.
It's not just, it's not a 10% bonus for getting, bachelor's or whatever. Okay.
No, it's not a stipend pay.
Okay.
One thing going back to contractual services, I can answer Councilor Chine's question on telephone. So our telephone expenses, last year we gave back in a reserve fund transfer $10,454 to IT to cover our analog phones. But our telephone expenses also cover department issued cell phones, the air cards that go into the laptop computers, the computers in the cruisers. And we also pay for translation services through that account, if that answers your question about telephone.
It does, and I certainly wasn't meaning to make an example out of the police department. It's just one of those ones where I was trying to track the dollars back and forth.
No, it makes sense. We probably have the highest expense of any
Absolutely.
department as far as telephones go. So that covers the budget as a whole. What I'd like to do is talk about adding an additional officer to the department. Last year, I spoke in front of the council about how important it was for us to get our staffing levels up to where I think we're providing the best service that we can to the community. At that time, we were at 47 officers, and my pitch was to get us up to 51, which is a number that I felt was going to put us in a place where we could maintain adequate staffing levels on the street, not be affected by any kind of sway in retirement, and pretty much bring us up to par with all the other communities that we're comparable to. Last year, we added an officer. We added a 48th position. That position's been filled. That officer's in the academy now. It took us a little while to find candidate to get into the academy. So what I'd like to do is ask for another position this year. I'd like to ask for a 49th officer. Last year, I gave some comparisons with the 47 officers that we had. So 47 officers for the 28,000 residents that we have was 1.68 officers per 1,000. Most of the departments that we're comparable to, keep in mind here that overall personnel for the police department, at that time we had 48. We had one civilian assistant. So we had 1.71 employees in the police department for every 1,000 residents. Most police departments have civilian dispatchers that man their dispatch center. Our dispatch center is staffed with police officers. So when we compare ourselves to other departments that are the same size as us or relatively similar as far as population goes, a town like Burlington has 2.79 personnel per 1,000. Chelmsford has 1.89. Danvers has 2.11. All these other towns have a lot more employees than we do. And with the addition of the one officer last year, it brought us up to 1.71, 1.75. So we're still far below. And that was last year, the population of 28,000. This past year in the town of Wakefield, there were 458 occupancy permits issued. Most of those were the new buildings on Hopkins Street, building on Foundry Street. As we all know from the discussion earlier, Quantipow Parkway, there were 160 permits issued there, and there's another 280 to go. So we can reasonably assume that when all these units are filled, our population just from those units will increase anywhere from 500 to 750 people. We're just trying to keep pace here with the demand on our services. Last year, we had 14,859 calls for service. That was an increase of 1,139 calls from the year before, for an 8.3% increase. There is an effect here. All this construction has an effect on us. It has an effect on our demand for services. And not all that increase in calls came from just from those buildings. It's coming from everywhere. And the diversity of calls is coming from everywhere. It's a wide variety of calls. We've had a position for a detective that's gone unfilled for 10 years. Eventually, we need to get that position filled. There's a demand on those services. There's a demand here that you can see it every day in the amount of time that these officers spend on calls, right? It's not just go to a call, take a 5-minute report, come back, bang out a report and leave. We have officers tied up on calls, sometimes for hours. And sometimes we have 2 or 3 officers tied up on a call for hours, especially with the mental health calls. The other thing I want to point out about all these new buildings that are going up, like Hopkins Street, Quantipow Parkway, Salem Street, Audubon Road, they're all on the outskirts of town. So if I have 2 or 3 officers tied up on Hopkins Street, and there's a call in Greenwood, I only have 1 officer to send there. Or if somebody has to leave Hopkins Street to go to Greenwood, it's a good 5-minute take to get there. So this is problematic for us. Having these buildings being where they are and the population that they're bringing into town is problematic from a number of different angles here. We need to put more officers on the street. We need to have more officers available to respond to calls. We have more building projects coming up in the near future. Like I said, Quantipow Parkway, there's another 280 units coming there. The building on Crescent Street has started. Nahant Street will be started fairly soon. There's still the project that's on tap for Broadway where Mike's Gym is. And there's going to be a proposal for 2 buildings on Audubon Road. So this is just more demand, and I want to stay ahead of it. I talked last year about retirements. We have 1 officer retiring in March, mandatory due to age, but we also have 8 other people that could retire at any given time within the next 2 years. If 2 or 3 people win at once, that's a huge hit to us. It creates staffing issues, it creates overtime issues, just trying to stay ahead of all of that. I'm sure somebody has questions.
Thank you, Chief Scory. Let me, Deputy Chief Calabrese, do you have anything to add? I want to introduce you. I see you sitting there, so. Anything to add? No?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. And then is somebody from the FinCom on?
Yes, get Bill Boudry on.
Okay. Hi, Bill.
How are you? I am no longer the chair of this subcommittee, but I guess I'm the only one here tonight. So I would say that the subcommittee met with the chief and deputy chief very recently, went through a very thorough review. I'm sure I'm going to hear a lot of the same questions from the town council that we asked. I will say in my time of being on the subcommittee with the chief, he's very thorough, very detailed, obviously very transparent, and we believe his requests were reasonable. So thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, Councillor Carney.
So I just want to mention the fact of how proud I am of the police department today. And I go back to the 1970s when late 90s, we had police department wasn't what we wanted it to be in late 90s. I wasn't on the Board of Selectmen at the time. We chose to go out of the town for a chief. And that was one of the best things we ever did. We had a second chief that came from out of town. And now we have candidates on our police department, many candidates to become chiefs. So it's a class organization. It's so much different. And we should be proud of it. We got a great woman representation. I think we have 7 women police officers now. I'm proud of our police department. I think we have to support it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Fox.
Thank you, Chief. How many officers do you have on duty at any given time now per shift?
On patrol, it depends on the day of the week and the shift. So
Okay.
the minimum for a day shift and an evening shift is 4 patrol officers. And it's the same for a midnight, except for Sunday through Thursday, we can go down to 3 on patrol.
So you have someone back doing 911, a sergeant maybe at the department, and then 3 out on the road.
So there's a sergeant and a patrol officer assigned to the desk.
Okay.
The reason there's 2 in there is because the sergeant is the shift OIC. He or she would be responsible for booking prisoners and in charge of the shift as a whole. So say we had a prisoner and the sergeant had to leave, that leaves the patrol officer by themselves on the desk. So you have to have 2 people in there. Plus they also handle the walk-in complaints.
Thank you.
Councillor Chines.
Thank you. And thank you, Chief Scory and Deputy Chief Calabrese. I had, as the council's liaison to the police department, I did have the chance to walk through the budget with Chief Scory a couple of weeks ago, and I'm very supportive of it. One thing that I wanted to highlight as we think about the contingent of officers is that, while we may be budgeting, if we approve this, for 49 officers in fiscal 2027, it is extremely unlikely at any given time that you actually have 49 officers on staff. You always have retirements, you always have family and medical leaves and other vacancies. And the time that it takes to fill these positions is not insignificant, both to recruit and then for someone who's coming into the field new, going through the academy. And then once they are on board, it's a couple of months of training where they're really shadowing another officer. And so as we think about the additions we're making, I mean, I think we always want to be careful about adding any new positions, but both given the increase in population in the town, I think given the increase in complexity for the calls that the police department is handling, as well as the fact that you're always going to be at least an officer or 2 behind the 8 ball in terms of what you're budgeted for. I think this is a budget that makes sense, and it's something that I hope we'll support.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chrisley.
Thank you, Chief, for that summary of the police department's responsibilities. At a previous meeting, I heard you describe some of the stresses of responding to the mental health calls. I think it's wide known we had an uptick in those due to the pandemic in 2020. And in terms of the budget and the complexity of the calls that the other counselors have talked about, is the mental health percentage of police work increasing, decreasing?
It's with the increase in calls, you get that percentage of increase in mental health calls too. The mental health calls, those are the ones that are really time consuming. Those are the ones that can go sideways at any given point. Those are the ones you really have to handle delicately. So they're time consuming. You play it safe. I've seen officers spend an hour and a half trying to talk somebody into an ambulance because you have to de-escalate, you have to talk to them, you have to communicate, you have to establish rapport. It all takes time, and the mental health calls have not gone down. It would be nice if they did. COVID certainly had an effect on it, but when we see this percentage increase in calls for service, there's also that percentage increase with the mental health calls as well.
Right. All right. Thank you for that. Thanks for that background.
Counselor Butler?
Sure, Chief. And again, this gets to the conversation I had with Ed earlier as well. I'm trying to understand, did something change in the routing of call? An 8% jump in calls, that's a big jump considering the population probably moved less than 1% or maybe 1% last year. That feels like a very big uptick in calls, especially as the sort of, we probably had a lower crime year than we did the previous year. And again, Councillor Chrisley mentioned the pandemic. The pandemic, the jump in from 2025 to 2024 isn't pandemic related. And it just feels like we should have probably, is that unusual across the state? And did something change that some reason why we're getting this increased number of calls? It can't be population.
Well, I don't think you can put your finger on one particular thing. And when you talk about a lower crime rate, you hear about crime rates going down throughout all the major cities around the country, right? But that doesn't mean that demand for services is going down. Not every call results in a criminal charge. Matter of fact, we're trying to steer away from criminal charges, right?
No, but Chief, I'm not cutting you off here in terms of the number of calls that we got, jumping to, what did it jump, 1,000 or
Went up
something?
1,139.
Yeah, in terms of do you break them down further in terms of it just seems like
we put out a monthly.
It feels like there should be some area where you can spot and say oh, there was a 20% jump in this level of call, and that's where I'm trying to get my hands around.
It's really across the board. If you will look at the percentages from say 2024, as the calls are broken down, it's probably the same percentages for 2025. The calls go up across the board, but the diversity of the call stays the same.
Okay.
And it's hard to predict. I'd like to say that next year we'd have 2,000 less calls, but I seriously doubt it. I think that the trend we're seeing with behavioral issues, I hate to always go back to mental health, but it's a factor in a lot of things. It's tied to drug use. It's tied to alcohol abuse. It's tied to, there's just a lot of cases of people who are suffering out there, and it relates to a lot of other things. It results in car crashes. And car crashes are probably up significantly.
I could see that. Having teenage kids, I can see that. I think, well, at least the new officer will have a nice office courtesy of Cabot, and Forbes.
Counselor Chines.
Just a quick data point. Our population actually has gone up in the last couple of years, I think from around 25,000 to 27,000, which is about an 8% increase. And so I do think that explains some of the increase in calls that we've seen. And it seems remarkably consistent with sort of the numbers that the chief cited. So I don't think it's correct to say that we've been flat. We were flat for a long time, but it seems like that trend has shifted over the last couple of years.
I think that population growth, though, is a 4-year number or 5-year number, Jonathan. It's not a 1-year number.
Maybe, but the number's gone up, and that's why I
Yeah,
think,
yeah, yeah.
you
I'm
know,
not,
I mean,
I'm
it's
not
not going to
arguing that. I'm
correlate
saying,
perfectly to the number of calls, but I think the trend is consistent.
okay.
Stefan, did I see your hand go up?
Yes, sorry. I can hold my question to Thursday's FinCon meeting.
Okay.
You're welcome to pipe up.
Well, I guess one thing, just as clarification for calls, if you have 20 people calling in one event, how many times do you count those calls? Do you count that as 20 or do you count that as one?
No. If there's an incident that officers are dispatched to, that's one incident. That's one call for service.
And so you received 1,800 separate additional dispatches above and beyond the prior year.
1,139. So if 10 people called
1,139.
in, if 10 people called in the same car accident, it's one car accident.
Understood. Thank you.
So Chief, you always have the data, which is really helpful. And I know Dee, our new town administrator, is big on the data. And you mentioned reports. You know, we don't normally get those reports. You talk about it in the budget or when you come in front of us. I'd love if there was a way, and I don't know if this is the end of the, you know, end of the budget cycle or something, just to kind of see like those reports, if you could ever pass them on to town council. I think that's just helpful for us to see that as well. That way you don't have to describe it all. If it's already all documented somewhere, but if there's a way to pass those on, and I know I'm looking at town administrator Casey, because I know she has ideas about department heads sharing kind of some sort of reports with us. So just, this is something that would be great.
Sure, I can do that.
And likely in next year's budget book that Liz and I will be building, these types of statistics are very common to see in that.
Yeah.
And the chief did develop a wonderful spreadsheet of our comparable communities and staffing. If you'd like to see it, maybe I could share it with you.
I think that's really helpful. I think all of that is, oh, share it now. I thought you meant later. Yes, that's great.
Oh no, we're super proud of this. Can everyone see this?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a spreadsheet of our, and the only credit I can take for this is making it pretty. The chief did all the work with the data. But what I did is I took our 10 comparable communities, and as you can see, green are 9 of the 10 of our comparable communities have higher levels of staffing, some at a very high level. Burlington, for example, only one of our comparable communities, Wilmington, has a lower, oh, that's not, oh, wait a minute. Yes, Wilmington also has a higher amount. So of all of our communities that we compare ourselves to, they are all higher than we are in terms of staffing per employee per thousand, and then 4 officers per thousand. So that was an interesting graphic to show. I'm a visual person, so I thought that was something interesting to look at.
No, that is very helpful. I do just want to say that Danvers and Burlington have giant malls, and those are much different than us in Wakefield, right? So there definitely needs to be better public safety when you have kind of those commercial areas, but very helpful to see all these numbers.
Yes. Every community has its own uniqueness, but it is helpful to see trend data like this.
Yes. It's a very pretty graphic, Dee. Good job. Councillor Fox.
Sure. Based on your points about the commercial space in those communities like Burlington and Danvers having malls, I guess our comparable is probably Reading, Melrose, and Stoneham, excluding the ones with a lot of commercial space, because they don't really have that either. And Saugus obviously has Route 1, so they probably need more officers for that. Where should we be based on those more comparable ones in a perfect world?
So this list is for what the comparable communities are what we're using for bargaining as well. So again, not every department is exactly the same, not every budget is exactly the same, but we used a series of factors to come up with this list. So are we going to compare ourselves to Burlington or Danvers perfectly? No, but it does give us some criteria in order to say, okay, this is the number per population, per staffing for this department. So I'm happy to, take a deeper dive and look at commercial space as well. But I think this is a pretty good representation of to what the staffing levels are.
No, and I should note I'm in favor of adding that extra officer. I like the idea that if I have to call 911, somebody's going to respond in a timely manner. Yeah, I'd hate to think that someone was tied up across town and couldn't get to me. Luckily, I haven't had to make those phone calls, but it's good to know they're there, especially with so many approaching retirement age. So,
Brian, even if we got to my goal of 51 officers, we'd still be lower than those other towns. We'd be at 1.86. We'd still be lower than Stoneham and Reading.
even with the 51.
Even if we got to 51, we'd still be lower. But like I said, last year, I felt that 51 was a number that was good for us. You could always reassess it later, but I came up with that number based on where I think we should be at.
Thank you.
Yeah, we always have the conversation of what towns to compare ourselves to, right? But I think the Beverleys, the Lexingtons, I think the big malls just add a little different. The big commercial, kind of the Route 1, Saugus, Danvers are just a little different. But again, I think that had a lot of towns that we could look at population wise, and then the number of the department. Jonathan, did I see you have your hand up?
No, just we were talking about data earlier, and I did want to make the point that there is a monthly statistical report that the department compiles that's on their website as well and available to the public.
Yes, for both police and fire.
Super helpful. Thank you so much. Okay, any other questions from town councilors? Okay, do I have a motion?
Move to approve the police department budget for fiscal year 2027 as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Counselor Chrisley.
Yes.
Counselor Carney.
Yes.
Counselor Constance.
Yes.
Counselor Fox.
Yeah.
Counselor Butler.
Yes.
Counselor Chines.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Deputy Chief.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, give me a second. I lost my agenda. The next budget is the library department, budget 34.
Yes, and Catherine is on.
Good evening. I am going, Dee has us doing something totally new this year, so I am slightly discombobulated. I'm going to try to share my screen. Share.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
I know. Do I want this to be the whole screen though?
Yep. So if you go up to slideshow. In the orange, like kind of in the middle of the orange, that row, there's
There we go.
Yep. And click on that.
Okay, there we go. Okay. Oh, and I can still see you all. Wonderful. Okay, I tested this earlier and it didn't work this way. So good evening. I am going to show you a little bit of last year's changes, accomplishments, and goals, just to give you a little idea of where we're at and what we're doing and what we're up to. I know many of you are in the library. So this is the library's mission. I don't know if you were aware of that we have this mission statement. We renew it every 5 years, and we've had the same one since 2015. And it's to engage our community in lifelong learning that builds knowledge and promotes understanding. And this guides our work and helps us decide in some ways helps us decide the things that we should work on. So significant changes for the last fiscal year. we looked at different measures of use, which have changed somewhat, and we've done some building updates. So in these measures of use, you're going to see that we were open 337 days. The foot traffic was up 10%. Physical borrows were down 3%, and electronic borrows were up 17%. Card holders are up. In those 337 days, we had 803 programs for 25,000 people. So we look, this is just a little bit of data that we have. We look at everything. We know how many people went to every single event, and we track all kinds of things. But this is telling us in one way that people are coming in for programs, not so much just to pick up holds. And there's a real increase in people wanting to use remote services and borrow ebooks and stream. And that has cost consequences. And then our building updates, we've had a lot of that. All of these projects you're going to see here were not done with capital. The capital committee gave us a roof one year, and this year we're going to get a chiller. And everything else that we have done, we've used our own funds and state aid. We replaced the parking lot and repaired drainage. The chairs, the front stairs were reset. That was a $70,000 earmark. I'm pretty sure Steve Mayo got that earmark because I did not put in for it, and I was very glad to get it. The marquee was finally repaired somewhat. The fun fact about the marquee is that it was designed and built by members of the library building committee with parts that were left over from the renovation. So at one point we wanted to take it down because it was messy, but we decided against it because of that little fun fact. So that was state aid that covered that. The new awning fabric was a replacement. In 2000, those awnings were put up for $2,000, and it was close to $8,000 to just replace the fabric. So times have changed. The lecture hall was refreshed with carpet, paint, and electrical. The Friends of the Library gave us 2 virtual meeting booths. In the last calendar year, those were used 830 times. People really need space. And the signs I'm very proud of because it took us a year to get them. They matched the existing signs. And they were tough to get because the original company had gone out of business. And so now I'm going to talk about some of our prior year accomplishments, some things that we've been working on. One is the Aspen catalog. This is the same evergreen catalog we've had, but the Noble Libraries voted to update it with Aspen. Some people don't like it because it's new, it's a change, but it actually gives much better search results. And it allows us to do all kinds of display things and special things that we'll be able to do for the summer and everything. So that's the catalog. The treasure room was a 2-year project that we have an archivist on staff. We got this federal grant, and it took us 2 years to do it, and now we're just about done. There's the before picture on the left, and on the right, everything's archived. The blue things will be the blue labels will be changed to archival labels pretty shortly. And one thing we discovered, and this was synchronicity right before the event on the Common of the rededication, we found a baggie, which is not an archiving tool, full of letters from the Civil War, from a soldier in Greenwood. And we transcribed them before that event. So those are online now. And the other thing we're doing is succession planning. We've had a lot of turnover in the last 5 or 6 years. So we're doing department procedure manuals, and we've invested in asset management software, which is awesome. It tracks everything we own, manuals, it creates budgets, it does all kinds of wonderful things, has a learning curve, and it takes time to put everything in there. But no matter who is in a position, they have access to this information going forward. So that's wonderful. And then we work on programs, and we're very focused on programs for connection and sociability. I think when you go back to the book Bowling Alone, we're still in a little bit of a crisis of, how do you are you with people often enough? The library works as a third place, and we spend a lot of time trying to create programs that apply to a broad range of people and give people someplace local to go and to be with other people. And we've had lots of successes, and we have partnered with, you can see the small business marketing. We partnered with the chamber, and we partner with local people, and we do a lot of it ourselves. And for the upcoming year, our goals are in the realm of professional development, updating our website, and coming up with ideas for after-hour events. And the reason we're focused on professional development is because a lot of people retired. There has been a lot of turnover, and we now find that we're really a very diverse workforce, multi-generational, and very diverse sets of skills. Our education is really different from people who were in grad school, a long time ago, and people who are just graduating, people who are in school now. The things that they're learning now is very different. And the idea of institutional knowledge, there's three of us that have institutional knowledge now, and we're trying to pass that on to everyone else. So we'll be doing a lot of professional development. And when we do work on the website, our idea is to create a digital branch so that people who never come into the library actually can use the website as a branch. And part of the reason for that is that we see we're now up to a quarter of our circulation is digital material. In 2017, it was 7%. That was before the pandemic. After the pandemic, it went up because people got used to actually downloading things because they couldn't come into the library. But that trend has continued, and especially with streaming and music. People like the access to the digital materials. So we need a better way for people to get that online. And finally, we are where Wakefield connects. And we're going to be working with the Friends. They have put together a new committee for fundraising and events. And we're looking to plan after-hour events that are somewhat diverse so that they'll appeal to a broad range of people, different groups of people, for a little more social use of that building. We had great success with Blossoms over the years, and we're going to do something similar for a broader range of residents. And so that's I can stop the sharing. So that was last year and where we're going. And I had given you your budget. I don't know if Liz is on and she had anything that she needs to say, or if she just wants me to talk you through this.
I'm here. You can take it away.
Okay, so I'll just talk you through this. I had a cover sheet that described a lot of what happened last year and why I'm looking for some increases this year. And the increases that are needed will be offset somewhat by the fact that we've had a lot of turnover and the personal services are not as big as they a need as they had been in prior years. The only thing you're not seeing in personal services is that there are 2 staff members who are in a union that will be negotiating for July 1st. So there are 2 people that could be affected. And that every calculation I did, it's a minimum effect on the overall budget. Contractual services is where we have the biggest change. And those things are really related to gas, electricity, utilities, and HVAC services. So that includes software, maintenance, repairs. It's hard, that was a hard calculation to make because we will be getting a new chiller. The chiller actually hasn't cost us very much money. It's the rooftop units that do. And we have 4 rooftop units and 2 of them will be replaced in this year. So we will save somewhat, but these things are aging and we found that we have been needing, the expenses are increasing. The other thing that's increasing is elevator maintenance and elevator inspection has almost, it's almost doubled. That's been very expensive. So this accommodates all of that. There's 5,000, I'm asking for 5,000 more for Noble, which most of that is materials, and that helps us meet our material expenditure requirement. So that was an 8.9% increase in that line. And then in materials and supplies, the only increase I'm asking for is in books and publications. And that's $17,500. The last time that books and publications were fully funded in the operating budget was in 2019. And Steve had made a point of saying that he was able to do it and he was going to do it. And when that is in the operating budget, it frees up the state aid money and gift money and any grants to be used for other building expenses and other services. The programming that we do is 100% funded from other sources, either the Friends and that includes Plaza Jazz. None of that comes from the operating budget. So I think that this is a reasonable budget for the things that we need to do. It covers everything, keeps the building safe, and doesn't add anything extraneous. I don't know if I covered anything. Does anyone have questions? Because Maureen, you're
it's getting late. That was great.
no.
Thank you so much, Catherine. And that presentation was great and much appreciated, this new format. So thank you, Dee. Dee or Liz, anything to add before I go to questions? Nothing. And then is there a FinCom representative?
No,
Shared?
yeah, no, there is not.
Okay. Counselor Fox.
I want to thank you and your staff. You do such a great job. I'm at the library all the time, including tomorrow night. Are you guys open still? Is it the plan?
As far as I know.
I got an email from Trivia to let me know it's still on for tomorrow night. I just want to make sure I have you here. So thank you for running all those great night programs. I get a chance to do a lot of them. Your staff's great. Please keep up the good work.
Thank you. And if you have any ideas, let us know.
Oh, I'll bother Megan with them.
Right.
Counselor Butler.
Yeah, hats off, Catherine. I think the library does, in general, phenomenal work. I went to a couple of the meetings. I'm not sure, I missed the last one because I was, of course, on the road, but I'm the subcommittee person for it. The number that throws me always is we only have like 13 or 1,400 card holders in town.
Oh, 13,000.
13,000. Okay, that's what threw me. I was like, really? We only have 1,300. I think there's just a typo in the thing. Then that was the only part that was somewhat shocking to me. I was like, really? We only have 1,300.
I think that was
a lot of usage. I was like adding it up. I was like, we're taking out 200.
Year, Doug. Doug, those are how many people signed up in the last year.
Yeah,
Oh,
those
that's
are,
the increase.
that's
Okay.
the increase. Yeah, there were
Okay. That
new
by the way,
card
and
holders.
that's an astonishing increase. Maybe I'm wrong about the number of people moving to town, Jonathan and Chief Score. My apologies, but that's a big jump.
It is a big jump, and it is from the people who are moving. There's a between 12 and 13,000 households in Wakefield. So we always wonder, do we have a card in every household? But of course it's not. There are households with 5 cards, so you can't really go by that. But
The
16
butlers, I believe. So
yeah, 1,600 is a lot in a year, though.
Yeah.
New ones, that is a lot.
And they all called the police.
I say it every year. Our police force is phenomenal, and if they have increased calls, some of those are from the library, and they are
Okay.
incredible. They are incredible when they come. I can't tell you how the library can be a stressful place. It's not always, you're not always sure exactly what people's intentions are. And they are phenomenally helpful in so many ways.
Well,
And
again,
they
thank
come,
you
they
so
come,
much. And I think the Friends do a great job helping out as well.
Friends are great.
Oh,
Yes, they are.
Sorry, I keep trying to mute and raising my hand by accident. Sorry.
Counselor Chrisley.
Thank you, Catherine, for that review. I also want to chime in and say, that it's amazing the number of services the library covers, and it's interesting to see that you're moving in more to the digital field as well. I wasn't aware of that shift in user habits. Just one budget question. Is the utilities increasing? Did you say that's one of the biggest jumps in cost? Is that
Yes.
operating energy use, or is that capital replacement for like the rooftop units?
It's not the capital replacement, but it's repair and maintenance. The maintenance has become more expensive. And all these pieces get older, when something breaks, it becomes more expensive. For instance, we had a leak in some piping that's in what we call the penthouse, which is the boiler room. And it should have been, we expected it to be a relatively small problem, but they couldn't get the pipes apart because they were so old and they were rusted and stuck.
Right.
And so it was 3 days and a lot of work, and then replacement of stuff we didn't expect. So all of that equipment is, 30 years old. And so the costs of things are just starting to be to be greater.
Yeah. Just one more question on that. Do you know, like, is the fuel source for the heating system in the library, is that gas or electric?
It's the fuel sources. So you had to say that. The fuel source is gas.
Okay.
So
right.
So in the summer, we have a high electric bill because of the air conditioning. But
Right.
in the winter, it's the gas for the heat.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you again. Thanks again for the great presentation.
You're welcome.
Counselor Carney, did I see your hand raised?
I will say something. I wanted to bring to attention the fact that your online services are unbelievable. I've looked in 2 adjacent towns for the same information I get in the library's website, and they don't have it. So I want to compliment you for that. And I've always suggested to people, the Wakefield Library, you get all the information you want about town history, town reports, the daily items going back many, many years. You do a great job.
Thank you.
Sorry, Maureen, one last sort of question, and I didn't catch this before. In terms of the budget, we're excluding the trust fund income, which I think is pretty uniform. So how do we handle that in terms of, because you're going to get, you're getting somewhere in the low 50s again this year.
Right. So that number will, the 2,147,295, will be offset by whatever the trust fund income is, but I didn't get that number yet.
Okay.
And
Yeah, and that,
I'm not really, but the last couple of years, it's been 50,000.
yeah, and because if I recall correctly, it's a 3-year average value and a percentage of that they give you, I believe. So it'll be in that range.
See, I have no idea how they do that. I didn't know how they did that.
Okay, well, I'll
Okay,
go over
good.
with that. I think Janice is on that account, right? It's with the
Janice,
savings bank people.
no, I don't think
Oh,
that
okay.
money comes from the savings bank.
Okay. All right. Well, we can
No, I
chat
think
about
it,
it at
I
the
think it
yeah,
comes,
library.
I think it comes from the trust funds that are held by the treasurer.
Oh, okay.
Okay, any other comments? I just want to add, and Catherine, you know this, but I adore our library. I always say budgets are moral documents. I think for our town to have a library that's open 7 days a week during, the academic year, no other town compares. Dee and I were talking last week, and she has colleagues that are so jealous that she is in Wakefield and she can't wait to have meetings at the library. So, first group I joined when I moved to town was the book club at the library. So we are all big fans of the library and all the work that you do. Thank you, you and your team. So with that, do I have a motion, Jonathan?
Yes, move to approve the library department budget for fiscal year 2027 as presented.
Second.
Great. Any further discussion? Counselor Chrisley?
Yes.
Counselor Carney?
Yes.
Counselor Constance?
Yes.
Counselor Fox? A thumbs up. Thank you. Counselor Butler?
Yes.
Counselor Chines?
Yes.
And myself is a yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to budget 22, animal inspector.
Oh, animal inspecting. Here we go again.
Here we go again.
Here we go again. Here we go again, John. So here is our animal inspector budget. The one thing I will say is that, Brian, is your hand up already? Are you anticipating a question already?
I don't know how that keeps happening, but no, I have no questions about animal inspector.
Okay.
Please continue.
All right, thank you. So the one thing I will say is that we are finalizing our figures with Melrose and Stoneham. We're going forward with just those two communities. Tom Mullins has looked at the intermunicipal agreement with both of those communities, and he is satisfied with it. I think we will actually not need the total 40,000, even setting aside some money for additional education. I know that was something that we had talked about. So I think once this budget goes through, it'll probably be closer to 35. So we will be saving even more on this budget. And I also think we're going to be getting better service. The job description that was crafted by Melrose, this would be a Melrose employee coming under our umbrella of Health and Human Services. I think we will get a better quality of service. The job description is very succinct. It contains monitoring and patrolling language, which is how I got in trouble in the first place asking those questions. And so I think that we will be able to hire, because it will be full time between the three communities. And I think at that compensation that we'll be able to pay, I think we're just going to get an overall much better monitoring system, ticket writing, and also enforcement. And I spoke with Tom Mullen earlier today about one of the things that Brian Fox brought up is that our bylaw has now no fines for leaving your doggy do. And so one of the things that we're going to look at is, will we institute fees and fines for people that are caught not leashing or picking up after their dog? So Tom Mullen is going to help me with those. We just need to look at what some of our other towns are charging, just to make sure we're within the realm. But it doesn't make sense if that's one of our biggest problems at the parks. we have the leash, the leash fines, but no, not picking up the due fines. So I think we need to be consistent and have fines for both. And that's pretty much it on that. budget.
And do you know when the MOU between the towns, did I hear when it would be ready, do you think?
I think either we will go first with bringing it before, I'm going to bring it before you as a presentation, but I can enter into the IME. But I wanted to present it to you first. We will go either first or second, and then Melrose will go last, just because of the way that their council operates. They have to have a couple of different showings of the IME. So I think in speaking with Mayor Genji and Dennis Sheehan, that's what we were actually supposed to meet tomorrow, but we had to cancel that meeting just to go over and finalize how the process will be going forward. But it's my intent to have this as soon as possible, because I know that Anthony doesn't really want to be the animal control officer, and Liz and we're getting good at it, but it's not what I went to graduate school for. So we're trying to move the process along as soon as possible.
And do you recommend that we do vote on this budget tonight, or should we postpone it until after you've kind of had that, you can come back with the IME?
Liz, what do you think?
We can either have a vote this evening, and then we can always revisit it once we have the full agreement in place. But it's totally up to you members of the council.
I know it's not a big difference, but I think for process wise, then maybe when you do the presentation, as long as it's before town meeting, and it sounds like it'll get that, like we won't have to rediscuss, but the numbers will be more precise. I think that's just a better process to go instead of us changing it later. But that would be my recommendation. But let's answer questions now. Councillor Carney.
Yes, I just wanted on this issue, and it's not just recently. I believe this has gone on for decades. It is accountability and knowing that if someone called, that someone responded to them. And I've often questioned this position in the sense that you call the animal control officer and nobody knows whether you called or not, and they don't get back to you, and which has happened to me in the past. There's got to be some record keeping of who calls, and that's the only thing in regards to the agreement.
Councilor Carney, I couldn't agree more. And the fact that this position will now come under the health director and not report directly to the town administrator, they will be that level of management. So that will be part of Anthony's team. And there will be expectations set that they're going to report back. As you know, I love data. How many calls did you get for Wakefield? How many, times did you go to Sullivan Park at 8:00 a.m. because that's when Dennis knows that everybody's out walking their dog. So there will be a higher level of accountability for this position, definitely.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Sure.
Councillor.
If you're going to institute fines, is it going to be on the person walking the dog, or will it be on the dog owner?
That will be something Tom and I will have to talk about, but I would think it would be the person that is with the dog at that time is responsible for picking up the due.
All right.
Do you want to be on that policy subcommittee, Doug? Is that you volunteer?
My first choice.
I think you want me to write the bylaw, don't you now?
I do, 100%.
Okay, is the council okay if Dee comes back to us with this budget? Do I see nodding? I think
I think that makes sense. There's no urgency
together.
for it.
Yeah, and I also because as Catherine said on the last budget, we're gonna have some contracts that are finalized, and so I know some numbers will get updated too, but those are much bigger budgets. This is a small one, so we'll do it when you come to us with the agreement. Okay, moving on to budget 24, parking department. Is this also you, Dee?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just switching screens. Okay. Again, looking at parking clerk department, we have an individual that does these are for the hearings. The parking administrators fall under the police department. So this is just for the hearing, the number of hearings. And as you can see, personal services going up a little bit for an expected, potential COLA for this position. We don't see no increase in materials and supplies. And then in contractual services, again, we asked all of our department people, and when we met with Ken, who is the parking hearing officer, about this, if he hasn't spent his, appropriation for, FY26, he's only spent like half of it. Does he need that? And so we're comfortable with, taking that 550 and reducing it down to 300. We think that that is a reasonable amount of money in that line item. And so again, an overall decrease in this budget. I know it's not a big budget, but we're trying to, shave every penny when we can. So this is the parking hearing officer's budget. And I will take any questions. I think the biggest expense is postage.
Counselor Fox.
That's my question is, what are the duties of the parking clerk? And is it a position that is needed at that level of money? It doesn't seem like it's a lot of money. I just don't know what the value is for that job.
Sure. So this position, if you are appealing your parking ticket, this is the person that would adjudicate that process. So say you parked in a handicapped and you had your placard, but it was on the dashboard, it wasn't hanging on the thing. This person has to go out, investigate. If you said there was no sign where I parked, they go out, they investigate, they have the hearing, and they have to catalog everything with the state. So they're the two parking control people, if you will. Those are the people that are out in the cars writing the tickets. This is the position that then adjudicates any appeals that come from people that get parking tickets.
Any other questions? Okay, do I have a motion?
Yes, move to approve the parking clerk department budget for fiscal year 2027 as presented.
Second.
Great. Any further discussion? And roll call vote. Counselor Chrisley.
Yes.
Counselor Carney.
Yes.
Counselor Constance.
Yes.
Counselor Fox. Thumbs up. Counselor Butler.
Yes.
And Counselor Chines.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Thank you so much, Liz. We did all the budgets. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks. Thank you all.
Moving on to the annual policy review, asset naming policy. Dee, can I go to you for this or just?
Yes, I think this is just the review of this. You review a certain amount of policies each year, and I believe that this is the term for the asset naming policy, just to bring it back up and see if there are any revisions that the council wants us to review. It's in the new format, so if it looks a little bit different, this is in our new policy kind of format. I don't believe any substantive changes were made. I do note there is some red font under the consequence and review and revision. So we might want to just kind of talk about those two items in particular. But again, it was created last year and the review date is today or tomorrow, actually. So if anyone has any specific questions or things that they want to highlight. Councilor Chines?
Thank you, and thanks for bringing this up. Just a couple of very, very quick things. One is just a proofreading thing. There's a word missing in 6A4. It says asset shall be named or renamed the affirmative vote of 5 members. I think the word without is missing there.
Mm-hmm.
More substantively on the consequences piece, My assumption is the consequence is that if we don't follow the policy, the name of the asset is null and void. I don't know if there's anything more specific that we would need to add to that. It feels like, this is the process to name an asset. If you don't do it, then the asset isn't named.
Correct. Yeah, not every policy is going to suffice those particular categories. So yeah, we left it in there just for your discussion, but you are correct. If the policy is not followed, the asset isn't named.
Would this have changed anything about the school renaming stuff?
No, it's the same policy, just written slightly differently.
Okay.
And who's gonna add the suggested commentary? Is that Tom Mullen or Jen McDonald?
I will work with Jen to correct the typo and to correct number 7. And the 8, and for number 8, I'm assuming it'll go into the annual review cycle, just like all the other policies will as well. So we will correct that language in number 7 and number 8.
So did we do 5 of 7 there because it's a 2/3?
So I'm happy, Councillor, but the history behind that was effectively when the policy was developed, there was an interest from the council at the time in having it be sort of a supermajority. The idea was that, if we were naming something, it should be something that had, broad support of the body beyond just a simple 4-person majority. It's a little, it doesn't make that much of a difference. 4 or 5 people, it's a
No, it makes a big
supermajority of a
difference,
body of
like,
7 is not hugely different, but that was the intent.
Okay, so it sounds like Dee, you'll work with Jen to make those changes and then maybe bring it back at our next meeting where then under the approval, we can add this year's review date to it.
Yes.
Or like the next meeting. Perfect. Okay, thank you, everyone. Moving on, item F, a motion. Jonathan?
Yes. Sorry. I was trying to figure out where I was in my agenda. Move to approve the 1-day special alcohol permit for March 21st, 2026 for an event at the Wakefield Bowlodrome.
Second.
Great. Any questions? Okay, roll call vote. Counselor Chrisley?
Yes.
Counselor Carney?
Yes.
Counselor Constance?
Yes.
Counselor Fox? Thumbs up. Counselor Butler?
He looks frozen.
I see 2 of them now too.
Oh, yeah. Was that me you were referring to?
Yes. Yeah.
It's the 7th time I've been dropped, so I don't think we can get to Teams quick enough. Yes, whatever it was.
Counselor Chines?
Yes.
And myself, yes. And just to tell everyone, that's going to be a fundraiser for Inspire Cafe, right? Am I right about that? Yes.
Yes.
And so there will be more information, but everyone be on the lookout. Item G.
Actually, item F2, move to approve the common victualler license for the Remedy Exchange at 41 Tuttle Street.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know why that's numbered differently in Govenda, but.
Oh. Okay. We're talking about the same thing.
Yes.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Counselor Chrisley?
Yes.
Counselor Carney?
Yes.
Counselor Constance?
Yes.
Counselor Fox?
Yes.
Oh, heard you. Counselor Butler?
Yes, but was this a change in ownership or just a?
Yes, change in ownership.
Okay.
Okay is a yes?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. Counselor Tynes?
Yes.
And myself is a yes. Thank you. Motion to approve our minutes from February 9th, 2026.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. Counselor Chrisley?
Yes.
Counselor Carney,
Yes.
Counselor Constance,
Yes.
Counselor Fox. Thumbs up. Counselor Butler,
Yes.
Counselor Chines,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Item 6, any announcements?
Sorry.
I'll let Town Administrator Casey go first.
So I just wanted to update the council on the assistant town administrator position. It closes on Friday, and I'm very pleased to say we have 16 applicants as of today, but we anticipate receiving 2 more in this week. I am very pleased with the quality of the candidates that we have gotten. I have already assembled 2 screening panels with an additional 3rd panel, and I plan to include members of the council on that 3rd and final panel. So it's shaping up to be a very good recruitment, and I'm very excited about the position. So I'm very happy to say that we'll have someone in sooner than later, so that we can continue to do the business of the town.
Thank you very much. Counselor Chines.
Thank you. Just very briefly, I wanted to take a minute just to send some congratulations for some of our winter sports teams who had some really successful seasons or are continuing to have successful seasons as they're getting into some finals and states and so forth. So that would include the girls hockey team for winning the Freedom Division, the girls track team for their top 10 finish at states, the boys track team for the Division 4 state championship, boys swim team for gold at the Cape Ann League Championship, and the wrestling team for their top 5 finish at Division 2 sectionals. So congratulations to everyone involved and great work by our student athletes.
That's great. Any other announcements? Item 7, matters not anticipated for agenda. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. Seconded. I will do one last roll call vote for today. Counselor Chrisley.
Yes.
Counselor Carney.
Yes.
Counselor Constance.
Yes.
Counselor Fox.
Yes.
Counselor Butler.
Yeah.
Counselor Chines.
Yes.
And myself, we are adjourned. Thank you all. Our next regular town council meeting is Monday, March 9th, 2026. See you then.
Good night, folks.
Thank you. Good night.
Night.